Chapter 14. The crowd gradually quieted down. The invitation banquet by the branches of the new moon. Clay stove, charcoal fire, crepe myrtle. The monarch's words forget the banquet. I see everything with my own eyes. Also warm and turbid before the banquet. The waves on both sides are turbulent. The light chirping night birds are turbulent. Thousands of soldiers are on the boat. Bigot, who was shouting at the top of his lungs, was very happy, especially after drinking a few glasses of 56% white wine. The word excited could no longer describe him. It should be excited. Not only was his face red, but the most important thing was that he gave people the feeling that he was 30 years old, or that he was 30 years younger. Anyway, he looked very powerful now. His white beard and white hair fluttered together, making people think that he had finished singing The Ocean's Laughter. Not only did he remember the lyrics, but he also mastered the absorbing stars technique, which was at least 60 years of power. Good, come, come, come. Xiao Bao, play the prelude. Bigot was very happy. He took a piece of cloth and wiped his beard and the fish juice on his mouth, and let Zhang Xiaobao do it again. That was originally the flute. You should use your sleeve. Wang Wan reminded him. Sleeve? How can I wipe my mouth with my sleeve? Look at my sleeve. How is it? Bigot waved his sleeve, and sure enough, there was a whistling sound. Zhang Xiaobao did not think that the absorbing stars technique was very powerful. He hated the person who built the platform on the mouth of the gourd. Not only was the water in a hurry, but the wind was also strong. If Old Man Pai caught a cold again, his father would scold him when they go back. Feeding someone medicine now was obviously a waste of the scenery, especially the antipyretic and analgesic paracetamol that was just developed by the medical school 4 months ago. If he stuffed 7 or 8 tablets into someone's mouth and drank it with wine, looking at the old man's age, it would probably be considered murder. If he did not die, it would be considered attempted murder. Okay. Zhang Xiaobao still chose to let Old Man Pai sing. Then, he gave his wife a look. Wang Wan got up. She wanted to use the leftover fish maw and ginger to make a soup to help Grandpa Bai. Cuckoo, don't move. You still have the accompaniment of the flute. Without the flute, you won't be able to enjoy yourself. Bai Shu stopped Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao stopped playing the prelude and said, Grandpa Bai, let's change to another song. If you really like this one, I can make it into a music box and put it at your bedside as an alarm clock. Bai Su was stunned. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, You are so bad. You want to make people feel sick when they hear this song in the future, right? Then choose another song for me to listen to. Zhang Xiaobao breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Wan could finally go and make soup. Zhang Xiaobao's hands were playing the piano. He did not know what song to sing. He thought about it and said, Grandpa Bai, where is your personal medical staff? They are doing physical examinations for the students in the school. Now, they should be at the crossroads where you came from. A group of us always say that it is a waste to assign medical staff to every one of us. There are many places in Tang that do not have enough doctors. When we read the newspapers about which places where people fell sick and did not manage to save them, we are all like sinners. Bai Shu was in a bad mood when he talked about this. In the past, he was also concerned about the people's livelihood, but he was more concerned about power. Not only him, but also all the officials, including the people from the big families, were the same. It was a habit. He could not control everyone. Of course, the big families wished that all the ordinary people could not develop. It would be better if they could not even read. Bai Shu was not very bad. At least he had been the provincial governor of many places and had experience. He could not always stay in the mansion. When he went out, no matter how clean the streets were, he could still see what he should see. But it was like walking on the streets of a refugee camp. All he could see were the poor. Some people's skin was festering and they were sitting there dying. It was not just one of them. If it was a lively and happy place, someone would feel uncomfortable when they found a person's skin was festering and his eyes were helpless. They would ask what was wrong and find a doctor. Or it could be said that when walking on a muddy road, there was phlegm and they would spit. If it was a waxed marble floor, they could only take out a tissue and spit directly on the marble. Would it not be stressful? Bai Shu and the others encountered the same situation. In the past, it was fine if the people died of illness. Not to mention the people, many people in the palace died. Even the emperor's son died. But it was different now. Under normal circumstances, it was difficult to die of a minor illness. The death rate of childbirth was also very low. There were too many people who died of dystocia. After the child was born to 5 or 6 years old, it was in the critical period. So, it was named so that God would not be jealous. At present, if there was a dystocia, there was no need to worry about a cesarean. Even if there was not enough blood, there would be a group of people rushing to donate blood. If you did not donate blood, people would not do it. They all wanted to save a life. So, there would be special situations outside the medical hall. There would always be people who came to check the blood type and whether the blood was poisonous. There was not much conventional blood in the blood bank of the medical hall. When there was a need, they would send someone to call. As a result, when they saw in the newspaper that there were not enough doctors and ordinary people died of minor illnesses, Bai Shu and a group of retired old men who had professional medical staff close to them felt sad. He just said that he wanted the medical staff to accumulate experience, which was to go outside to treat and check the body of others. Zhang Xiaobao, who was very happy, fell silent and stopped what he was doing. He did not have the noble sentiment of worrying about the world first and enjoying the world last. He and Wang Wan just felt that they could reflect their own value in life as much as possible and reflect it through others. When he heard Bai Go mention this, he didn't have a good idea. Medical skills were not something that could be grasped by just reading a book. Medical science was a huge system, including theory and practice. Only the development of society as a whole could promote its development. If the industry could not keep up, there would be no good instruments. If the planting and breeding could not keep up, there would be no foundation of life science. If the economic development was not fast, there would be no money to invest. There were many other things. It was never easy to kill people than to save people. Tomorrow, ask the literati to write more poems and songs that praise the medical staff. From birth to death, no one will specially write popular songs to praise them, but people still value birth and death the most, right? Madam. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of something. Wang Wan had already cut the food and put it in the pot. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she turned around and said, "You mean to praise the delivery room and praise the paper shop? The former is easy, but the latter is difficult. You two, come here and pick up the instruments. Continue to sing the sea's laughter." Bai Shu did not want to talk about sad topics. Today, he wanted to be happy. "Grandpa Bai, you should sing more in the future and record it. You can earn money." Zhang Xiaobao changed the topic. He still did not want Bai Shu to shout. "Yes, that's a good idea. In 2 days, I will organize a group and call my little grandson who has not found a wife yet. Bring more young men and women. Then, you two can accompany him. It's a reward for you. You should know that many people want to accompany him, but he doesn't want to. At that time, he will sing the sea's laughter, and the girls will sing the world's laughter. Aya, this song is so good. I will find someone to recite the song beside him." Bai Shu must have drunk too much and mistook Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for someone else. Both of them looked at each other and said happily, "Really, it's our honor." The two of them admired the person who wrote this song. Did they think of having a man and a woman singing and then have a poem to accompany it? Okay. Prelude that. La 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 up. Report. As soon as Bai Shu finished speaking, a voice louder than singing la 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 came from outside. This was definitely the top male high school. If he was trained well, he could make money for the glass factory. Beijing East City. How many glasses would he break if he shouted from one end to the other? If there was no other way, they could get a loudspeaker and a microphone. Bai Shu covered his chest and gasped for air. Zhang Xiaobao searched for the first aid medicine on him and finally found it. Bai Shu swallowed his saliva and said, "Aya, what a good voice. Xiaobao, is this the person you brought?" "Definitely not." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "The ones in my family are all medium tones. This one is too high. The coloratura can go up an octave." If he mastered the technique of overtones and used it in interrogation, he could drive people crazy. "Okay, call him in. Let me see who it is." Bai Shu felt that he could not have such a person in his team. Without needing him to call, a eunuch ran in. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew this eunuch. This eunuch's name was Lan Lan. He was born castrated. In the past, he only had one name, Rotten. He did not even have a surname. When he entered the palace, he followed the eunuch's instructions and changed his name to Lon Lon. He finally knew why his voice was so unique. There was a kind of castrated singer who was born castrated. That kind of person's voice was better than a woman's. But this Lon Lon was born castrated. His voice still had a baby's voice. It had amazing penetrating power. If he shouted beside you for 5 seconds, you would faint. Lon Lon, why are you here? Wang Wan used a small plate to pick up a few pieces of charred fish and handed it over with chopsticks. Lon Lon was very sensible. He was 1 year younger than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Before, he had been doing manual labor at home and was not allowed to go to school. No one was willing to contact him. Some rich people wanted to sell him, but his father did not want to lose face. Later, he took the initiative to go to the telegraph office and send a telegram to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The two of them were not free. The inner courtyard knew what to do, so they arranged for Lon Lon to go to the palace. Lon Lon liked to learn close-range reflex movement and long-range sniping. He said that he had to be ready to block bullets for people at any time to repay the kindness of the emperor and Zhang Xiaobao. She did not expect that he would come today. Lon Lon was not polite. He picked up a piece of meat and quickly chewed and swallowed it. His eyes kept moving, and his body changed positions with Wang Wan. Because the place where Wang Wan was standing just now was diagonally to the mountain, there was an angle for sniping. The people on the other side are my people. You don't need to. Of course, Wang Wan knew what Lon Lan's reaction was about. She pulled him back and asked, "Who sent you?" Only then did Lon Lon breathe a sigh of relief. He straightened his chest and said, "Xiao Xiaobao, Cuckoo, listen." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly remembered that Li Longji was still waiting for them to admire the moon. At the same time, they turned their heads and looked outside. There was a crescent moon on the top of a tree. No matter what kind of tree it was higher than the top of the tree. The crescent moon was there. As for what to admire about the crescent moon, it was not important. What was important was whether Li Longji was waiting for it. "Say it," Zhang Xiaobao urged. Lon Lon was brewing her emotions. She smacked her lips. The fish tasted so good. She quickly put on a serious face and said, "Do you think it's a good idea? What happened to admiring the moon? Do you want to spend the night at the research institute? I heard that you even went to the mouth of the gourd. You think it's hot and windy? I'm telling you, this is not the end. Just wait. It's over. You two are finished. Wait for your father's scolding. You dare to make Her Majesty wait. Haha, I really admire you." Bai Go was gloating at the side. Oh, adding insult to injury. Just now, he should have poured half a liter of wine and fed him at least 50 tablets of acetaminophen. Let's go and see Her Majesty and see the crescent moon. Zhang Xiaobao couldn't do anything. After all, no matter who the other party was, he didn't do what he promised. He was very sorry. As for Old Man Pai, you can howl at the opposite side of the mountain. Next time, I won't play with you. You are such a scammer. Wang Wan also reacted and shouted, "Someone, spread the news. Tell the family in the palace to send our newly developed remote control helicopter. Tell Her Majesty that this thing can throw bombs. If she wants to throw it accurately from a long distance, she will be able to do it after we develop the technology. Let Her Majesty play with it first. Remember to put a red flower on the helicopter to make it look more festive." Lon Lon was anxious and said, No, there's no need." "Because, what do you mean there's no need? It's a must. Although the Research Institute said that there's something important today, no matter how important it is, how can it be compared to Her Majesty?" Zhang Xiaobao interrupted Lon Lon and said with self-blame. Wang Wan at the side echoed, "Isn't that so? It's not easy for Her Majesty to take some time out to talk to us, but in the end, it was delayed. I wish I could just fly over and let Her Majesty see the helicopter first. In the future, we can use that thing to fly whenever we want." But Lon Lon still wanted to say, "Lon Lon, don't say anymore. They know that I'm here. You still need to practice your skills. No matter how light your footsteps are, you should be able to hear them. The two of them are very capable. They specifically said this to me to express their apology, emphasize the importance of the Research Institute's work, and talk about the helicopter that hasn't been developed yet. Lon Lon, I'm telling you, It's not easy to be a bodyguard. Not only do you have to react quickly, you have to familiarize yourself with the environment quickly, and you also have to understand psychology. In the future, you should learn more from them. I dare not say that they will teach you bad things, but at least they can make bad people think that they are good people when they see you. Following the voice, Li Longji walked in with his hands behind his back. Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Bai Go hurriedly bowed. Your Majesty, didn't you ask me and Cuckoo to go to your place to look at the moon? Why did you come here personally? Aya, I'm so rude. Zhang Xiaobao nodded at Gao Lishur, who was behind Li Longji, and said with a smile. Li Longji glared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, I feel that the palace and this place are in the same time zone. Looking at them from the mouth of the gourd is the same. Turning his head, Li Longji said to Bai Go, when I was walking over, I heard that you were still smiling foolishly. Good. Life should be so bold. That's my song, Zhang Xiaobao muttered. You? You should be singing the song that you insisted on teaching your child. Pig, your nose has 2 holes. When you have a cold, you still have snot hanging from your nose. Li Longji didn't give him any face. After learning a few lines of the pig song, he asked, what did the research institute produce? Nothing much. Just sonar and a standard military submarine, Bai Go replied. Someone said that CI Pi's promise for this month's update was complete, so they could sleep in peace. Thank you for your attention and support. Chapter 15. The crescent moon is light, and the wind carries the water. Like a sea dragon snake, it hides and fleets. Submerged shooting, it builds a towering figure. Bai Go was very happy today. He looked down at the turbulent water. His gaze was so deep that he seemed to see the magnificent sea. Oh, no, below was a valley. He saw the straits. Zhang Xiaobao's eyes flickered as he studied them closely. Vaguely, 3 words appeared in his eyes. Malacca, his eyes moved again. Zhang Xiaobao continued to observe. There seemed to be the words Monde. His eyes moved counterclockwise. Zhang Xiaobao found that it should be Mozambique. His eyes moved clockwise. Zhang Xiaobao, Hormuz. He. Zhang Xiaobao, Gibraltar. He. Zhang Xiaobao, Turkey. English, Skagerrak, Florida. Magellan. Help me. I'm dizzy. It's so dark down there. I can't see anything. When Zhang Xiaobao was about to read the names of the straits from the old man's eyes, the old man burped. He grabbed Zhang Xiaobao's clothes and said while panting. He didn't know whether he was dizzy in the dark or high. It was normal to see him fishing. Wang Wan supported Bai Go on the other side and said, Grandpa Bai, you're afraid of the dark and high? I'm afraid I drank too much. Bai Go tried to open his eyes and said in a low voice. Li Longji didn't care whether the old man was rude or not. He told Lan Lan, bring me the glucose for the intravenous drip. Lan Lan lowered her head and ran away. At least in the eyes of the drunk old man Pai, there were so many shadows, as if she was treading water. Another martial arts master, showing off his peerless skills. Bai Go tried to open his eyes and look at Lan Lan's back. Looking at him, he probably hadn't recovered from the smiling, proud wanderer. Zhang Xiaobao respected his elders, so he agreed. That's right. Too bad the mortal world is like a tide. People are like water. Only a few Jianghu people can return. Li Longji listened for a while and couldn't help but think of Dei Medical College's psychiatry department. If he compared Bai Qing and Zhang Qing's condition, he reckoned that some of them were qualified to be discharged. Soon, Lan Lan came back with the equipment and the foredrip. Wang Wan picked up a pair of chopsticks and smashed it into the wall with the back of the knife. She hung the string of the foredrip, disinfected it, and popped the air bubbles. Then, she stabbed it into the blood vessels on the back of Bai Su's hand. There's sugar in this dish. Li Longji's voice sounded from the side. He was currently eating the braised fishtail with his chopsticks. Your Majesty is truly capable. Zhang Xiaobao immediately gave a thumbs up. 2. You can even taste the sugar in the braised fishtail. How amazing! Cold. Li Longji stared at Zhang Xiaobao with his chopsticks. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything else. He turned on the stove and heated up the pot. After the pot was heated up, a layer of oil was formed. He then poured half a spoonful of cooking wine into the pot and stirred it continuously. When the sauce was about the same as before, he took it out of the pot. Li Longji nodded with a satisfied expression. He reached out with his chopsticks and said, "Actually, I've brought food over. Your savant's restaurant made it for me." Savant's restaurant. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that Xiaobei's uncle was unhappy. The two of them didn't attend the appointment and came here to cook. This was why Li Longji personally came over. He wanted to find a family member that he could talk to. As the emperor, he couldn't get too close to the other officials in order to prevent them from affecting his decisions and upholding the law. Even when he was with their father, he still maintained a distance. It was only when he was with the two of them that he didn't feel restrained. It was a kind of equality, the equality between the monarch and the genius. Other people were not important to the emperor, but the two of them were not. Without them, the entire Tang's financial and industrial system would collapse. At the same time, they were also equal in terms of military affairs. The north of Hubei province was under their control, and the Bohai Sea was under their control. To put it bluntly, it was the three northeastern provinces and a part of Russia. Further west was the grassland, and Feng province was also under their control. Further west was Tubo, and the 8 battalions of armored cavalry came from there. Luzhou only had one provincial governor at the southernmost point. Where was that? To put it bluntly, it was Guangxi. The mountain people now called Luzhou's wolf soldiers, which was the Guangxi wolf soldiers. During the Ming dynasty, it was said that the Guangxi wolf soldiers ruled the world. There was also Shu province in the middle and Sanshui county, which was not far from the capital. They had strong military forces. At the same time, the Shu lands also had their own soldiers, the logistics camp of Yi province. The soldiers that were transferred to the north of Hubei province were actually the Xiang army. Without Xiang, there would be no army. Without Chuan, there would be no army. In terms of military strength, the two of them were strong enough. The soldiers who could fight were all around them. In the middle, there was naturally the Miao protection team, which was specifically to deal with the traitors. No matter which province's army rebelled, the Miao protection team would be pushed back. There was no negotiation, no confrontation, no compromise, no amnesty. They ignored defense, weather, terrain, and wireless electronic interference, artillery coverage, and bullet screen. They would directly flatten the entire province. Therefore, when the two of them were with Li Longji, the emperor, they were very comfortable. There was no need to play tricks. With that in mind, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan caught another fish. It was a carp. They took off the hook and threw the fish back. It was not that the surname Li was a taboo, but it took a long time to cook a carp. It was not easy to get rid of the earthy smell in a short time. They continued to fish while Li Longji continued to eat. Lan Lan, who was accompanying them, was frightened. The emperor was eating the leftovers of others? Li Longji ate a few mouthfuls. When he saw Lan Lan's expression, he said with a smile, "Do you think I shouldn't eat? I still remember when I was a prince, there was no food to eat on my birthday. It was the empress's father, General Wang, who pawned his clothes and made soup pancakes for me. Every time I think about it, it's hard to remember." Sigh. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened as they fished. They knew that Li Longji was talking about something that happened before he ascended the throne. On his birthday, there was no longevity noodles. Empress Wang's father pawned his clothes in exchange for money to make Li Longji a bowl of noodles called soup pancakes. Unfortunately, according to historical facts, Empress Wang loved Li Longji so much that she became a villain and played with spells. In fact, it was Wu Huifei who found someone to trick her, and then she died. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would not forget what was recorded in the book. During Li Longji's rebellion, Empress Wang fought with her husband. She was the daughter of a general, so she accompanied her husband even when he rebelled. In history, if Empress Wang did not die, there would not have been the Maui Per rebellion. Who was accompanying Li Longji at that time? Who was Yu Huan? If it was Empress Wang, she could ride a horse and charge into the enemy's formation with a spear. Who would have the face to retreat? Wang Wan changed Empress Wang's fate and recognized her as her godmother. Because of this, Empress Wang was actually a simple-minded person. She was not good at palace intrigue. When she was in charge of the Eastern Palace, she could even play shuttlecock with the palace maids. What was Wu Huifei? She was the descendant of Wu Zetian. Others were afraid of her, but Wang Wan was not. You people from the Wu family are from a prestigious family. Who is worse than you? You know how to play palace intrigue. Don't you think I know how to play? This is not called palace intrigue. This is called politics. Furthermore, I have an international swindler as a husband. He is very powerful. With that thought in mind, the two of them finally caught another blackfish. Li Longji had already drunk a tael and a half of wine. Zhang Xiaobao used his knife and cut the fish twice to observe the condition of the fish. Very good, there were no signs of parasites. He then took out the sashimi slices. Each slice was as thin as a piece of paper. Li Longji was very happy. He reached out with his chopsticks and dipped them in the sauce. Just as he ate 2 slices and was about to praise Pei Ziyun, Bai Go suddenly shouted, "Your Majesty, what, is it poisonous?" Li Longji's hands trembled as he held the sashimi. "Your Majesty, listen." Bai Go pointed outside and said, "The sea laughs, the waves on both sides of the shore." Li Longji heard this and said, "Float and sink with the waves. Only remember today. Your Majesty, you know how to sing too." Bai Go was astonished. How rare. Xiaobao and Cuckoo sang it when we were on the sea. Li Longji felt that the drip would not be able to cure old Chen's illness. It would be better to send him to the psychiatrist's department. It had to be done in time. There must be no delay. Bai Go did not know about this and continued, "Your Majesty, did you not hear a buzzing sound?" Li Longji tilted his head and listened. It was the sound of water splashing against the walls. He shook his head. "Yes, I didn't hear it either." Bai Go seemed to have been proven wrong. Li Longji immediately looked around. He wanted to find something to hit old Chen and send him to the medical school while he was still dizzy. Zhang Xiaobao listened and said, "It's the submarine, right? It hasn't arrived yet? It's almost there, right?" Bai Go was not very sure. Zhang Xiaobao ignored him. He picked up the drum and hit the drum in Morse code. The content was, "Come out quickly. The Emperor is here. I, Zhang Xiaobao, am here too. Don't wait for Cuckoo to smile at you." After a series of rhythmic beats, it was effective. A beam of light shot out from the mouth of the canyon. The light illuminated the area. Then, a wooden boat about 4 meters long and 1.3 meters wide floated down the river. When it floated about 100 meters, a white line of water suddenly appeared at the spot where the light came from. That line of water was heading straight for the wooden boat. "The torpedo is coming out. Your Majesty, hide." Wang Wan saw that line of water and knew it was familiar. Although the torpedoes she made were all empty bubbles, she still recognized the ancient ones. She pulled Li Longji back to hide. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the pot and held it in front of him. He also picked up the table and hung it in front of the pot. The two of them couldn't guarantee that the torpedo wouldn't explode in this place. Under the refraction of the wall, it was very likely that they would be hit. A wooden table and an iron pot should be enough to protect them. As expected, the two of them pulled Li Longji back less than 5 meters. Then, there was a roar from below. The entire mountain was buzzing, and rocks fell from the mouth of the cave. After the torpedo exploded, Zhang Xiaobao picked up the drum and hit the drum again. After waiting for a while, he saw the light flickering at the mouth of the cave. He sighed in relief and said, "We'll punish them when we get back." "Do you think torpedoes can be placed so casually?" Li Longji was still puzzled. He asked, "Who can explain it to me?" "A heavy bomb propelled by propellers. Now, it can be launched from underwater submarines. The speed is so slow. Fortunately, the enemy won't have a chance to hide even if they want to." "Do they need sonar?" "A periscope is enough. The enemy doesn't have anti-submarine torpedoes or depth charges." Beside him, Wang Wan introduced with an unpleasant expression. "It was so dangerous just now. If the two of them had reacted too slowly and a shrapnel had hit them, it would have been fatal." "Good. With such a divine weapon, we don't have to worry about the sea." Li Longji was very calm. Anyway, it was over. In fact, his expression had changed just now. Chapter 16. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that Old Man Bai had called them over to tell them that the 2 torpedoes had been developed. At the same time, they had also developed sonar. To be honest, it was too much of a bully to use this thing to attack other countries' ships. Other countries and places didn't even have cannons. When fighting on the water, they still needed to use catapults, bows, and spears. Then, they would have to engage in close-quarter combat. When dealing with ships like theirs, it was enough to have cannons. If they used submarines and torpedoes, it would be like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. However, this thing still needed to be researched. There were too many smart people in the world. When one side's cannonballs landed on the enemy's territory and didn't explode, the enemy would definitely pick them up and study them. When they compared the things inside, they would gradually enter the era of hot weapons. Then, gradually, everyone would have guns and cannons. This was especially true for the people of Tang. Industrial technology couldn't be kept a secret for long. There were too many people who knew about it. Some people might be motivated by profit to leak it out, and some might accidentally let others know. Therefore, new things had to be researched. They couldn't wait for the enemy to catch up. Li Longji was full of pride. He waved his hand and said, "I want to unify the world. I want everyone in the world to be a part of Tang. I want the moon to be round, and the moon will be round. I want the sun to spin faster, and the sun will be." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were frightened by Li Longji's words. Could it be that the explosion of the torpedo just now shocked the emperor? According to what he said, it was obvious that he was going to conquer the Milky Way. That was scary. "Your Majesty, please drink some wine." Zhang Xiaobao poured some hot wine and handed it to Li Longji. Wang Wan said, "Continue eating. You didn't eat much just now." Li Longji waved his hand and said, "It's okay. I'm okay." "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, how many of these things do you want to make? There's also that torpedo, which can sink a ship with a single blast." The two of them looked at each other. Zhang Xiaobao said, "Your Majesty, we only need to build 10 submarines. They're not going to be used to start a full-scale war with the enemy. We're going to use them to train our soldiers. We don't need to build too many torpedoes, just enough for normal training." Why? In Li Longji's mind, there was still a scene of countless submarines suddenly appearing around the enemy fleet, followed by tens of thousands of torpedoes. How could it be gone in the blink of an eye? Wang Wan followed up and explained, "Your Majesty, the submarines, torpedoes, and sonar are part of the technical reserve. We will train a group of soldiers and use them as a basis for research. However, we will not mass-produce them because they are expensive. We need to use the resources we plundered. Oh no. We need to convert the resources we obtained from fair trade into the basis of social and economic development." Li Longji exhaled and calmed down. He was too excited when he saw a submarine attack a small ship. After catching his breath, Li Longji said, "That's right. I almost wanted to use all the money to equip the army, but that won't do. My people need to live better lives than all the people under the previous emperors." As he spoke, he picked up a piece of sashimi and chewed it. He continued, "War has always been a means, not the end goal. Currently, there are still many places in the Tang Empire where the people can't eat meat as they please. It's just that I can't see it in the capital." "Yes, Your Majesty," Zhang Xiaobao continued, "this requires us to put more thought and energy into civilian production. We'll convert the submarine's propellers and other technologies into civilian production and let the rich buy them. We'll then use the money to build the infrastructure." Li Longji nodded. Then, he held his wine cup and fell into deep thought. He realized that in comparison, he had done a better job than all the previous emperors. Not only could he attack whoever he wanted, but the people no longer ran far away in groups to escape disaster. Even if there was a drought, there was no need to be afraid. Food from other places would be sent over in time. There was also a well drilling team that would go to the drought area to dig wells. When there was a flood, everyone would migrate when the dam couldn't be defended. When the flood passed, they would return home and rebuild. It wasn't like in the past where they didn't return. They had to sell their children and even barter for food. It had changed. Everything had changed. But it wasn't enough. It was far from enough. They could do better. All the people should have diesel and gasoline engine cars. All the people could use phones. No matter how far away they were, they could talk to whoever they wanted. All the people could eat popsicles in the summer. All the people could fly to distant places when they wanted to go. All the people could get timely treatment when they were sick. All the people could be carefully protected by the locals when they went outside. All the people, Li Longji's thoughts drifted very far away. It was so far away that even he was afraid of it, because it was too difficult. Then, two figures appeared in front of him. Those two figures waved their hands and turned everything into reality. With a wave of their hands, they filled the entire sky with light. With a wave of their hands, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were indeed waving their hands in front of Li Longji. "Your Majesty, what's wrong?" Oh, it's nothing." Li Longji was called back. He said, "I suddenly thought of airplanes. Does that mean we don't need to build more airplanes? Just build enough for training?" Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. No, no, no. As long as we have the ability to build airplanes, we can build as many as we can. Then, we can build airports in various places. Apart from training, they can also help transport goods, especially letters. We'll charge the rich a lot to use them, but I believe they'll be happy to use them because they can show their status. Li Longji laughed. That's right, that's right. We have to let the rich enjoy themselves and buy and use luxury goods. Otherwise, if they have too much money and can't spend it, they'll snatch the business of the common people. On this point, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had always insisted on this point to balance out social conflicts. When Li Longji mentioned this, he thought of something else and said to the two of them, "Recently, some officials in the imperial court have suggested moving the capital to Luoyang. There are also some who have suggested building a high platform, like the Copper Sparrow Terrace." Wang Wan blinked and said, "First, there's no need to move the capital. There are too many things, and there's no point in going through so much trouble. Besides, there's still our heavy industrial research base next to the capital. If we want to move, we can only move to the north or northeast when we have more money. The environment in the south is better, but we can't possibly let a bunch of people enjoy life there." Then, what about the high platform? Li Longji asked about the second matter. In truth, he also wanted to build one, but he was afraid that the two of them would say that it was a waste of money and manpower. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao said with certainty, "We'll build it. The Copper Sparrow Terrace isn't tall or big enough. We want to build something taller and bigger, but it can't be around the capital or Luoyang." Where should we build it? What Li Longji was worried about didn't happen. On the contrary, he gained even more support. Yuzhou, where the Anong Protectorate used to be. We'll build it there. Get someone to build it there, and find suitable stones in the surroundings. We'll build a large building several hundred meters tall. The location that Zhang Xiaobao gave was actually Beijing. The population there was too little. If they built a large building there, many people would have to live there in a year or two, and the population would naturally increase. Furthermore, that place was indeed not bad. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many dynasties that chose to build their capital there. It would be good if it was slightly to the side, closer to Tianjin port. In any case, there were still many lands that belonged to them. After all, there was a plain next to it, and that was Hebei. Li Longji didn't care where the building was, as long as it was built. He believed that Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't lie to him. Thus, he asked the crucial question, "Is the money coming from the treasury or from my own funds?" There's no need for that. Let the rich donate. Tell them that if they donate enough money, they can carve their names on the stones. If they donate less money, their names will be at the bottom. If they donate more, their names will be at the top. Then, they'll have to pay for the maintenance in the future. Zhang Xiaobao gave a good idea. Chapter 17. At noon in midsummer, the people who had just eaten took a short break before continuing the day's work. The birds and the chickens and dogs in the courtyard had all found a place to enjoy the warm sun or to hide in a cool place. In the small river in front of the Zhang family's manor in Tuqiao village, a group of boys were playing to their heart's content. After playing for a while, perhaps because they were shouting too loudly, a person walked out from the manor's courtyard. He stared at the group of boys and reprimanded them with dissatisfaction. "All of you scram further away. If you wake up my family's young master, you'll all be waiting to be beaten." The boys immediately stopped shouting, and all of them carefully looked at the side door of the courtyard. They hid in the water and slowly moved upstream. When the person returned to the courtyard, the boys let out a sigh of relief and made all kinds of funny faces at the closed door. "Scared me to death. He is so fierce. Even the old master of the Zhang family is not like him." A 7-year-old boy whispered as he used his hands to dig at the yellow mud inside the river. Isn't it the same? The master is kind, but the steward is fierce. No matter how fierce he is, he still has to listen to the master. I heard that the young master can eat porridge now. Later, we will catch a few toads and give them to him. Take the oil from them and put it in the porridge. It is good for the body. My mother ate like this when she had my little sister. Another slightly older boy was more sensible than the previous one. He looked at the toads that occasionally swam in the water and said to the others. The boys also knew that at this time, they would have an unexpected harvest if they fawned over the young master of the main family. They all nodded. Another boy who had already caught a toad said, "Then we should catch 2 more. The daughter of the Wang family is also in the Zhang family. Erzi, if your sister is now with the young master of the Zhang family, how good would that be? Your family will not have to worry about food and clothing in the future." The one who was called Erzi was the sensible boy just now. Hearing this, Wei Wei shook her head. That is impossible. There are only 2 big Zhuangzi in the village. They are a match. Besides, they can also give birth. They were originally betrothed when they were young. Unexpectedly, they were born on the same day, less than a minute apart. That's right, that's right. The child who spoke first also nodded and said, "It's not just that. I heard that ever since the 2 children met when they were 1 month old, they stuck together and cried when they were apart. That's why they were put together. Counting the days, they will be 1 year old in a few days." I won't say any more. I won't say any more. Hurry up and catch the toads. As long as the master is happy, he might reward us with a few eggs. My mother doesn't have much milk, so I can steam cakes for my sister to eat. Erzi thought of his 4-month-old sister and didn't want to waste any more time. He called out and went to find the fork first. In the courtyard of Zhangjia Zhuangzi, in a room, there were 2 children lying side by side. They were gently covered by a thin blanket. Their small faces showed a peaceful expression, and their stomachs rose and fell evenly. At the door of the room, there was a 13 or 14-year-old girl sitting on a small stool. After looking at the sleeping children, she leaned against the door frame and dozed off. After a while, she also fell asleep. After a while, the little boy lying on the right slowly opened his eyes. At first, he was stunned, then he was puzzled. He raised his hands and moved his feet. Suddenly, there was a trace of panic in his eyes. He turned his head and looked around, muttering, "Where is this? How did I become a child? Where are the bandits? Where is that Wang Wan?" When he looked at the other child next to him, he found that the child lying next to him was a girl. An idea that he had to consider arose in his heart. Before he could make a further judgment, the girl's eyelashes fluttered twice. With the uncertain idea in his heart, the boy closed his eyes again and pretended to be just like before. At this time, the girl also opened her eyes. She was also puzzled. She also looked around and muttered, "Where is this? How did I become a child? Where is the liar Zhang Xiaobao? I haven't finished my task yet." Her muttering was heard by the boy next to her. The boy's breathing was very even just now, but he suddenly stopped and immediately returned to normal. However, at this moment, he was discovered by the girl who had been staring at him. With guesses in her heart, the girl estimated the position of the person sitting at the door. She reached out her chubby little hand and touched the boy's face. "Zhang Xiaobao, is that you?" The boy didn't have any reaction. His breathing was still so even. The girl gritted her teeth and pinched the boy's nose. The boy woke up this time. He turned his head and looked at the girl. His big eyes were as pure as they could be. "Zhang Xiaobao, hurry up and answer me," she once again spoke in her muffled voice. The boy still looked the same. He blinked his big eyes and made a few sounds with no pitch at all, just like a normal child of his age. "Are you not Zhang Xiaobao?" The girl really did not know how to judge. "Ha, ha, ah, ah." The boy's monotonous voice came, and at the same time, he reached out his chubby little hand to touch the girl's face. The girl stared at the boy's eyes to see if there was any expression in them that should not be there, but she did not see anything. Just as the girl was about to give up, she suddenly remembered the words of the director at the beginning. He can jump down from a height of 15 meters without any injury. He can climb a 9-meter high wall with his bare hands. He is proficient in criminal psychology, behavioral psychology, social psychology, and many other disciplines. He is classified as an extremely dangerous criminal. I'll let you pretend. I'll strangle you. The girl also raised her hand and directly pinched the boy's arm. As soon as she pinched, the boy immediately cried, "Wah wah." He cried. Before the girl could do anything else, the girl sitting at the door rushed over. When the girl saw that someone was coming, she pretended to be as innocent as the boy just now and blinked her eyes. The boy looked at the girl in horror and did not stop crying. Okay, okay, okay. All right, Bao Lang, don't cry. You didn't even pee. Bao Lang, don't look at the Wang family's young lady like that. She's your future wife. You've been together since you were 1 month old. Why are you so scared? Following the young lady's comforting words, the boy finally stopped crying. When the girl returned to the stool, the boy went back to sleep. The girl looked gloomy. She looked at the boy and thought for a while. Finally, she gritted her teeth and reached out her hand again. This time, she was going for the boy's crotch. She whispered, "Brother, you know how to ask for help, right? You think you have a backer, right? You're not afraid of being pinched, right? I'll find something wrong with you." Wah, wah. Before the girl's hand touched the boy's crotch, the boy shouted again. The girl quickly retracted her hand. The girl came over again. Seeing that nothing was wrong, she went back and sat down. "Let's see how long you can cry. I'm going to scratch again." The girl reached out her hand again. Wah. The boy cried. The girl retracted her hand. The boy stopped. The girl reached out. The boy cried. The two of them repeated like this. After a few times, the girl did not reach out this time. She only said, "I'm going to scratch again." Wah. The boy cried. "I'm not going to scratch again," the girl said. The boy stopped. He did stop, but the boy's expression changed. He was no longer as innocent as before. Pretend, keep pretending. Are you regretting it? Did you forget to learn child psychology? My international liar, Comrade Zhang Xiaobao. This time, the girl laughed and said jokingly in the boy's ear. The boy could no longer pretend. He reached out his chubby little hand, slapped his forehead, and sighed. "It's not that I'm careless. It's that men are too attentive to this." He understood that it had become a reflex. It was impossible for children to have this kind of reaction. Faced with this kind of situation, there were basically only two kinds of reactions for a child. One was to cry continuously and wait for someone to comfort him, but then he stopped. Two was to change from crying to laughing, thinking that he had found something fun, but he was affected by the adult's thoughts. "Comrade Wang, I don't think a police officer should do such a dirty thing, let alone a policewoman. You are too immoral." Zhang Xiaobao finally admitted his identity. "Swindler Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, you have to remember that there are only bad starting points and not unreasonable means. Tell me, where did you put the money?" Wang didn't feel embarrassed at all. This was what she was trained to do. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the girl at the door who had sat down again and had nothing to do. He turned to Wang and said, "If you have to add a word before my name, please say suspect. Now, I don't think we should be thinking about money. Remember, money is never a problem for me. What I'm thinking now is, can I still eat that bowl of cold jelly?" You really know how to find a relaxing topic. Where's the money? Wang still asked about the money. Are you stupid as a police officer? What money? Look at how we are now. Look at the surroundings. According to a normal and unbelievable saying, we have already left the original world and reincarnated into another world. My only regret is that I didn't eat that bowl of cold jelly. Zhang Xiaobao turned around and looked at the ceiling. Wang looked around again and found that this was not in her era, or in other words, in this world. Especially the appearance of the girl sitting at the door when she came over, and the clothes she was wearing, proved this point. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You insisted on exchanging hostages. Now, my family will never see it. You have to compensate me, my parents, my brothers and sisters, and my job. Wang tried to keep her voice as low as possible while pinching Zhang Xiaobao's arm and complaining. Do you regret it? Is it better if I didn't go there and let that child live in the threat of death? Zhang Xiaobao turned around and asked again. Regret? No, I have no regrets. Who am I? I am China's overlord flower. Please don't look at me like that. My glory cannot be tarnished. Wang Wan was stunned for a moment and then said to Zhang Xiaobao seriously. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and admitted to Wang Wan's words. He thought for a moment and suddenly said, "Do you think I can see my parents in this life?" Looking at the surrounding decorations and what that person said, they should be from a rich family. Sigh. Wang Wan sighed and said rationally, "Don't think about that. Think about where we are. What should we do in the future? Who cares where they are? I have decided. I can finally see my parents in this life. I will work hard to earn money so that they can live a good life. I will also find a wife so that she can live a good life. From what that woman said, you seem to be my wife. I have decided. I have decided not to admit to this matter. I will not live with an international fraud suspect." Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to finish speaking, Wang Wan then vetoed. "Forget it. Let's not talk about this kind of thing first. I'm going to sleep. I may have other things to do in a while, so I won't accompany you." Zhang Xiaobao lay back down and closed his eyes with an expectant look on his face. Chapter 18. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Zhang Xiaobao really did fall asleep. Wang Wan, on the other hand, was not in the mood. Thinking of her home, thinking of her parents and relatives, she suddenly felt a little lonely. It was as if the whole world had left her, and she was the only one left. Only when she realized that there was someone beside her did she feel a little bit of warmth. If I had another chance to choose, would I choose not to follow him in exchange for the hostage? No, I have to be responsible for my honor. Even if I had to choose again, I would still have no regrets. Fortunately, I am not alone here. I have a swindler with me. Damn swindler. He didn't even take out a single cent. Wang Wan looked at a small gray hanging on the shed, gently blown by the breeze, and thought slowly. Are you still thinking about the money? At this time, Zhang Xiaobao, who had fallen asleep, suddenly turned his head and asked softly, "How did you know?" Wang Wan was surprised. "I have seen many people like you. If you don't complete the mission, you will always feel that something is missing. Don't worry, when I returned to China, I thought about it. I brought something with me. There is an account number in it with 10 million US dollars, which is for your funds. Your director is a good person. The only thing he lacks is money and equipment. How can he solve the case with this kind of equipment? Don't worry about the explosion breaking the thing. I think even if it is blown to pieces, the relevant departments will extract the things inside. As for the rest of the money, it will be invested in the motherland in the future. Don't think about it. It's useless. Since we are alive again, let us live a better life." Zhang Xiaobao continued to persuade and explain the money. Wang Wan was naturally not stupid enough to not understand such words. She exposed her small arms outside the blanket, nodded slowly, and asked, "Don't you have any regrets?" "Yes, I didn't eat that bowl of cold jelly." Zhang Xiaobao cracked a smile. "Don't talk to me about this. You know what I am asking." Wang Wan made a frosty face, but her child's face was so cute no matter what expression she made. Zhang Xiaobao smiled again. "Don't treat me like you are interrogating a prisoner. Here, I am a good citizen. If someone asked me like this in the past, I would never give them a good face. Today, I will make an exception and never mention it again. In fact, my biggest regret was that I never got to meet my parents. After the flood, I left the sad place and stole things along the way. I went to the garbage dump to find food that other people didn't want to eat or throw away. Usually, I would come out at night and find a corner to hide in during the day. It wasn't that the night was good, but I was afraid of the day. In the past, there was still Grandpa Dean, but after Grandpa Dean died, I was all alone. Only then did I realize that I was an orphan. During the day, I would always see some adults holding hands with children to play or eat. The only thing I felt was jealousy. When those children around my age were at odds with their parents, I wanted to beat them up. If it were me, I would definitely be obedient. But I knew that if I really rushed to beat them, their parents would beat me to death. I didn't have parents to protect me. Later, I saw them going to school. I wanted to go, too. You should know that it was impossible, unless I went back to that cold orphanage again. Then, Wang Wan didn't know that the most vulnerable side of Zhang Xiaobao's heart was this. She couldn't help but feel a little sad and asked, Then? Then you all know that in order to learn things, I went to prison, stole, trained, and went back to prison again. Here, I want to thank our police system. As long as you are willing to spend money, your ID card and file can be made real. So I can buy a gun without a criminal record. Unfortunately, I only used it once. I robbed an official's money. It's funny that the official had just gotten 300,000 yuan from someone else. Before he could warm it up, I robbed it. Your file shouldn't be there. I already knew that. He didn't dare to call the police. Later, I went to his house to steal and stole a lot of money. He still didn't call the police, because I saw from his notebook that he had killed someone. When we came, he should have been at the main hall. If he had been kidnapped before we came, I think you wouldn't have been implicated. I would have provoked the gangster to let go. You are breaking the law. Your idea is wrong. Wang Wan heard that Zhang Xiaobao had such a criminal tendency and immediately corrected him. Forget it. Breaking the law? Are you saying that against your conscience? We're not children anymore. Don't you know what the world is like? Did you become stupid when you studied commanding? Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan with a gaze that made her very uncomfortable. Okay, let's not talk about this. I want to know why you know so much about me. Wang Wan didn't refute and only asked the question in her heart. You came to arrest me, so of course I have to know more. This has nothing to do with me. If you want to ask your own people. Flies don't bite eggs. Okay, let's not talk about this. I found that you have a radical attitude against our country's society. Wang Wan felt that she couldn't gain the upper hand on this issue. She wanted to change the topic, but Zhang Xiaobao didn't agree and continued. I never resisted. I only complained. I never hated. Even when I investigated and found out that my biological parents were forced to work in a coal mine and that the compensation money was embezzled because I was just a baby, I never hated because I had a grandpa who once held my hand and ate cold jelly. He even left the hope of survival to me. From then on, I knew that this world was not only filled with darkness and hatred, but also warmth and love. You, what kind of person are you? Wang Wan couldn't give Zhang Xiaobao a reasonable position at this time. Like you, I have the persistence in my heart and am full of contradictions. This is my dream in life. Let's not talk about it. I heard footsteps outside. I hope it's my family. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he suddenly turned to look at the door and the girl who was still dozing off. Why didn't I hear it? Wang Wan was even more confused. That's why you can't catch me, Zhang Xiaobao replied, but his eyes didn't blink as he stared at the door. Cherries, you're slacking off again. I think you're too naughty. As Wang Wan heard the footsteps, there was a scolding voice. No, madam. I'm not slacking off. The young master and the young lady are sleeping. The girl stood up in fear and lowered her head to defend herself. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw a girl in her 20s wearing a pink and green dress standing at the door at the same time. Maybe this girl really didn't want to punish the girl, or maybe she saw the two children looking at her with wide eyes. She changed her expression and walked quickly to the bed with a smile. She looked at Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao lovingly. That smile was not fake at all. Mother? Zhang Xiaobao was the first to react and asked tentatively. This was amazing. The girl picked up Zhang Xiaobao and excitedly asked the girl behind her, My baby boy can say mother now. Cherries, did you hear that? I heard. Congratulations, madam. The young master can say mother now. Cherries quickly echoed. Now she didn't have to worry about being punished. With the young master calling her mother, she could be exempted from the death penalty, let alone dozing off. Mother. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that he really met his biological mother, he excitedly used his chubby little hands to touch the girl's face and kissed her. At the same time, he called her mother again. Xiaobao, it's mother. My Xiaobao is really sensible. Cherries, go to the accountant's room to receive your reward. Seeing her son like this, the girl's anger disappeared. In order to make others happy with her, Cherries, who was reprimanded just now, could now receive her reward. As she spoke, she took out a string of things from her sleeve. She tore a small piece of wood from it and threw it to Cherries. Cherries hurriedly caught it. When she saw the wood piece, she was even more happy. This wood piece could be exchanged for a piece of pork. It was enough for her family to eat for several days. She carefully put it in her arms and didn't leave. Instead, she stayed by the side and waited for other instructions. Mother. Zhang Xiaobao kissed the girl again. He wanted to say more to make his mother happy, but when he remembered his age, he could only call her mother again. Seeing such a scene, Wang Wan didn't know why, but her big eyes under her long eyelashes were filled with tears. She didn't know if it was because she pitted Zhang Xiaobao's experience in his previous life, or because she was moved. She couldn't help but shout, "Mother-in-law." After shouting these two voices, which were a little out of shape because of leaking teeth, Wang Wan realized that she was affected. Her mind was unguarded at this moment. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan was so cooperative, he wanted to continue shouting "wife" to make his mother happy. But when he saw Wang Wan's obviously a little regretful expression, he could only shut his mouth. He was afraid that after shouting, Wang Wan would reply to him with "scram." That would be troublesome. At this time, the girl didn't care about the change in attitude between the two children. Her son could call her mother, and her future daughter-in-law could also call her mother-in-law. The two children, who didn't know how to speak before, became so sensible in the blink of an eye. This made her so excited that she didn't know what to do. She casually took out a small piece of wood with the word "sheep" written on it and turned around and threw it to Cherries. "Take this and exchange it for a sheep's hoof. Go to the account room and get it yourself." "What did you hear just now?" "In reply to madam, I heard. Congratulations, madam. Congratulations, madam." The young master can call his mother, and the young lady of the Wang family can call her mother-in-law. With madam's arrival, the two children have become smarter. Cherries knew that she was specifically to serve the two children. The more the children made the adults happy, the more rewards she would get. She didn't expect that the two children, who didn't know how to speak before, would suddenly become sensible at the same time. She trembled as she took the wood piece, thinking that she could use this sheep's hoof to exchange for some cloth to make new clothes for her father, mother, and younger brother. "Come, mother will take you out to play. Let them see my Baolang and Cuckoo. Which family's children are not as good as mine?" Today, that group of naughty children also sent some toads. Mother has already asked people to boil the contents of the toads into the porridge for you too, to have a good taste. Mother has rewarded each of you with 20 eggs. The girl held Zhang Xiaobao in one hand and picked up Wang Wan in the other. She laughed and talked as she walked outside. Seeing his mother in this life reward the servant girl twice in a row and use a large amount of eggs as a reward, Zhang Xiaobao finally realized the importance of children in his mother's heart. He tightly pressed his head into his mother's arms, forgetting his mental age. He reached out his small hand to touch Wang Wan's delicate nose. He didn't feel any pain when bitten. Those small teeth had no strength at all. Chapter 19. The woman carried her son and future daughter-in-law and practically floated out of the room. This time, Zhang Xiaobao did not continue to immerse himself in the warmth of having a mother in this life. He constantly communicated with Wang Wan with his eyes and occasionally used lip language. He wanted Wang Wan to cooperate with him and figure out what this place was like as soon as possible. Wang Wan still had some contradictions in her heart. For the time being, she had not completely adapted to her new identity and was not used to being carried around by a young woman. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao's message, she suppressed the various emotions in her heart and began to memorize the surroundings, including the clothes on the people and the layout of the house. These two could be said to be the elites of the previous world. At this moment, they were going to display all of their strengths and reflect the accumulation of knowledge and experience. Ancient times. When he was carried out by his mother, Zhang Xiaobao mouthed to Wang Wan. Wang Wan and Wei Wei nodded and glanced at the table. Seeing 2 coins on it, she narrowed her eyes and carefully looked at them again. "If I'm not wrong, it should be the Tang dynasty. I saw the money, Kaiyuan Tongbao. I don't know which dynasty it is." At this time, the woman had already arrived at the door. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at the situation outside again and found that they did not directly see the outside. There was a courtyard in front of them. Rich family? Manor owner? Official? Businessman? Wang Wan saw this situation and immediately made a judgment. Not an official family. My mother doesn't have that kind of temperament. Based on what my mother said just now, the preliminary judgment is that there is a manor owner. Zhang Xiaobao analyzed and replied. "Madam, why are you carrying 2 people? Quick, give me one." Just as Wang Wan was about to express her opinion, a man's voice sounded. She thought it was the woman's husband. In the end, she saw an uncle in silk clothes around 40 years old. According to her current age, she should call him grandfather. She immediately stopped talking and returned to the appearance of a child. Zhang Xiaobao did the same. He looked at this person with a curious gaze, especially this person's eyes. He wanted to see if this person was lying or suppressing his mother. This person's identity was that of a housekeeper. According to his temper, if he saw the slightest hint of contempt for his mother in the eyes of this person who seemed to be a housekeeper, he would kill him. It's fine. The 2 children are not heavy and are comfortable to carry. Housekeeper Zhang, go to your work. Oh, today, everyone in the courtyard will be rewarded. Add a portion of meat for dinner. As soon as the woman mentioned the child, she smiled continuously. Naturally, she had to be happy with everyone in the courtyard. Yes, madam, you do your work. I'll go call someone to watch from the side. It's hot. Hold an umbrella for the little master and little miss. Housekeeper Zhang respectfully responded. He lowered his head and quietly walked away without showing any disrespect. He did not know that this attitude had saved him from a fatal disaster. The woman carried the 2 children and continued to walk forward. Before she reached the front of the courtyard, a young girl of the same age came to hold an umbrella for them, blocking the scorching sun outside. At this time, Cherries also handed a warm and wet handkerchief to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to gently wipe their faces. Pomegranate, do you know where the master is? The woman kissed Zhang Xiaobao's face and asked the girl holding the umbrella for her. Replying to Madam, the master is studying in the study. During this time, the old madam and the old master should be enjoying the cool air under the tree in the front yard. Pomegranate obediently replied. She often served people, so she naturally knew what the madam meant. It was to let the family see the children. The woman nodded. Then let's go to the front yard. Cherries, in a while, go tell the people who are building the backyard to not be lazy. Once it's done, let the old madam and the old master go back to live. It's not good for their status to always live in the front yard. When she turned her head to look at the 2 children in her arms, she smiled again. Wei Wei turned sideways and said, Xiaobao, Cuckoo, the one who just passed by is the housekeeper of our family Zhuangzi. This maid is called Cherries, and the other is called Pomegranate. In a while, I'll let you see your grandfather and grandmother. Then, without caring whether the 2 children could understand or not, she walked forward and taught the 2 children to speak. This was called a house. In the middle of the house was the door, and there were also windows and so on. When she came to the front yard and saw the 2 old people sitting at the stone table under the big locust tree, she stopped talking and quickly walked forward. Chower, you're here. Quickly, let this old madam see our good grandson and granddaughter-in-law. When the old madam, who was sitting there and being served tea, saw the woman's figure, she immediately stood up and walked forward. While speaking, she reached out to take Zhang Xiaobao. She also complained, Chower, it's so hot today. What if you're tired from carrying 2 children? In the future, let the servants do it. As she said this, she didn't have any intention of letting the servants help carry the children. She held Zhang Xiaobao with both hands and put him in front of her to look at. No matter how she looked at him, she couldn't get enough of him. The wrinkles at the corners of her eyes squeezed together, and her smile didn't disappear. I'm not tired. Who would feel tired carrying their own children? That's right, father-in-law, mother-in-law, Bauer can say mother now. He said it in the house just now. And Cuckoo, she calls me mother-in-law. Come, Bauer, say it again. Mother Zhang only remembered that she came here to make her father-in-law and mother-in-law happy together. She reached out to touch her son's chubby face and asked him to say it again. Mother. Zhang Xiaobao naturally wouldn't refuse. In this life, he was finally addicted to having parents. He was ready to say all the words that he hadn't said before. Then, without waiting for others to praise him, he said to the old madam who was holding him, Grandmother. Then, he turned his head to look at the old man who was also sitting there and looking over. He continued to say, Grandfather. This time, the old man couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and walked quickly to his grandson. Io, My good grandson, let grandfather see. Good. You're better than other people's grandsons. No one can compare to our family. Say it again for grandfather to hear. Grandfather. Zhang Xiaobao carefully looked at his grandfather. In his heart, he thought that if he were to be washed away by the water again, this grandfather should be able to carry him to the shore. Grandfather, grandmother. Wang Wan also shouted at this time. When seeing the old people, at the very least, she still had to show some respect. When the two of them shouted, it immediately made everyone happy. The old madam took Wang Wan, and the old man hugged Zhang Xiaobao. They sat back together and praised their son, daughter-in-law, grandson, future granddaughter-in-law, and even the servants who served them. It seemed that everything was so beautiful. On this day, they didn't feel hot, and they didn't feel irritated. Even the watchdog, who was usually not allowed to come close, could now lie under the tree and be praised together. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were feeling the warmth while carefully listening to everyone's words. They observed the situation around them and analyzed their future living environment, especially when they heard their grandfather, grandmother, and mother talking about some trivial matters at home. The two of them listened even more carefully. They didn't stop lip-syncing. Who said that you're not an official? Don't you have a fief? There's also 100 households worth of food. Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao when she heard that Zhang Xiaobao's grandfather was worried that the fief that their ancestor fought for with his life would be taken back. Zhang Xiaobao also listened. His ancestor went to war and made meritorious contributions. He even saved an important official and was given a fake title. Later on, that ancestor died, and the fake title was also gone. However, the fief and the 100 households were not taken back. Now that the era name was changed, it was the emperor who changed. He was afraid that the fief would be taken back. My ancestor and the current era are so many years apart. He is no longer an official. In the past, he was also a fake title, but this is not important. What is important is that we know the era. It's the second year of the Kaiyuan era. It seems that it will be stable for a few decades. Li Longji just finished dealing with his aunt and is in the stage of development. Zhang Xiaobao received this most important information from his grandfather. With this information, things were easier. People were not afraid of facing danger and difficulties, but they were afraid of facing the unknown. It was the most uncomfortable to be in the dark. What's so good about it? Why don't we do it earlier? For example, during the Jingguan era. At least we don't have to worry about the Enlushan rebellion. Your family's fief should have been taken back a long time ago. It's not like it's hereditary. I don't know what methods you used to hide for so many years. Wang Wan said sarcastically, but she was also worried. If Zhang Xiaobao's family lost their fief, then their income would be reduced. If they encountered a disaster, they would not be able to survive without saving some food. Zhang Xiaobao was not worried about this. At most, he could earn money to buy the fief. Earning money was not a difficult thing. Even if he did not cheat and did not make a lot of money, he could still make some money. The only thing he was worried about was the Enlushan rebellion that Wang Wan mentioned. After thinking for a while, he said to Wang Wan, "Don't be afraid. It's not easy to save a person, but it's easy to kill someone." Kill Enlushan? Wang Wan asked. Yes, that's one of them. There's no rush now. When we grow up, we will kill Enlushan, kill Shi Siming, cripple Li Linfu, and kill Yang Guozhong. Zhang Xiaobao said confidently. Stop bragging. Even if you really kill Enlushan, there's still Li Lushan and Wang Lushan. Wang Wan did not give Zhang Xiaobao any face. Zhang Xiaobao did not think much of it and said, in theory, there is such a situation, but the ones who really change history are people. The personality of an important person is the factor that determines history. There is only one Napoleon. Let's not talk about this for now. When the time comes, we will know. Wang Wan also knew that there was no conclusion on this matter that involved philosophy. It was better to be realistic, so she asked, then what are we going to do? Are we going to wait until we grow up? Of course not. Our first task is to earn money. When the time comes, we will buy more land. The Kaiyuan era was prosperous, but no matter how prosperous it could not be compared to our era. Back then, our food was indispensable, not to mention here. Zhang Xiaobao gave an idea. What should we do? Just based on us two little brats? Will anyone listen to what we say? Stupid people think about difficulties. Smart people think about opportunities. Wait for us to understand the situation for another 2 days, then I'll tell you what to do. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be calm. Chapter 20. It was another afternoon. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. Wei Wei curled up under the sun. The lively dog had long stayed in the shade under the tree. He stuck out his tongue and looked at the chicken digging sand on the ground in front of him. The child on Zhuangzi had tasted yesterday's sweetness. Today, he forked the toad even harder. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had just been breastfed, could not bear the fatigue of their young bodies. They lay side by side and fell asleep. Cherries was still sitting on the stool at the door and dozing off. The Jiang Wang clan, also known as Qiao and Zhang Xiaobao's mother, were busy with the matters on Zhuangzi. The housekeeper strolled around. Sometimes, he would go to the front to see if there was anything that could disturb the little master's sleep. Sometimes, he would go to the back to renovate the courtyard and tell others not to make too much noise when they were speeding up. After sleeping for 2 hours, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan woke up almost at the same time. They opened their eyes and looked around. After some discussion, they decided to train their bodies and learn how to walk first. Perhaps it was because they were always carried by others, they still did not know how to walk. I didn't expect your father to be a bookworm. Wang Wan pushed Zhang Xiaobao and jokingly said, "It's good that he's a bookworm. As long as I see him, I know that he is my father. Yesterday, he even read the Analects of Confucius to me. How can I know that?" Zhang Xiaobao recalled the appearance of his father when he saw him yesterday. His father was indeed a bookworm, but when he heard his son call him father, he was as happy as a normal person. At that time, he hugged him and read the Analects of Confucius to him. The imperial examinations of the Tang dynasty were not easy. I don't know if your father can pass. Wang Wan was a little envious of Zhang Xiaobao. It was mainly because she had never seen her parents in this life. They actually abandoned her and left her alone. She even drank milk with Zhang Xiaobao. The milk of the Jiang Wang clan was not as good as she imagined. Who asked her mother not to have any milk? She had heard them mention it yesterday. You're wrong. The imperial examinations of the Tang dynasty are the easiest. As long as you have a good reputation and find someone, there won't be any problems. This is also not an obstacle for me. Even if I have to spend money, I will make a golden path for my father. I heard yesterday that your parents will be coming today. Don't be shy when the time comes. When you need to call your mother, call your mother. When you need to call your father, call your father. Zhang Xiaobao was confident that he had some means to monopolize. My own parents are still alive, but I have to call other people my parents. It's all your fault. Wang Wan complained habitually. You're Mrs. Xianglin? Can't I just say it? Don't think that I will marry you after lying down with you. Maybe I will find someone better. Humph. Wang Wan began to take revenge. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan again and sighed. You're an old girl. You're 30 years old and you don't even have a boyfriend. Now you're throwing a tantrum with me. How old are you? Find someone else? Can you find someone else who can treat you like I do? This is the Tang dynasty. No matter how open they are, men are superior to women. I'll just suffer a little. Who asked me to drag you into this? Shut up. Hurry up and get off the bed. Wang Wan obviously did not want to listen to Zhang Xiaobao talk like this and urged him to get off the bed. Zhang Xiaobao poked his head out to look under the bed. After estimating the height, he said with uncertainty, "It's so high. If I go down, I might fall. Besides, if I fall, I'll accept it. What about you? Don't you want to practice walking together?" You're stupid. If you go down, you can catch me from below. I will jump on you. In theory, you won't be hurt. You're chubby. You'll be a meat cushion. Hurry up and get off. Don't give me an excuse. You can jump down 15 meters without falling. You can climb 9 meters with your bare hands. Why are you afraid of this little height? Wang Wan pushed Zhang Xiaobao to the edge of the bed with all her strength. Zhang Xiaobao kept taking deep breaths to adjust his state. Seeing that he was almost at the edge of the bed, he turned back and said, "Why don't we practice on the bed now?" Okay, let's practice on the ground. Don't push me. I'll do it myself. Like this, I'll turn around and slip down. You can pull me up as much as you can. Calm down. Even if you kill me, you can't go back. As Zhang Xiaobao said, he first put his 2 legs outside the bed. His small hands grabbed Wang Wan's small hands and rubbed them down little by little. He complained while rubbing, "What is this called?" Cherries didn't think about it. No matter how big the bed is, a child has to turn over. What if I fall down? Doesn't she know how to use something to block it? Have you seen a child of this age turn over? When he woke up and saw that there was no one around, the first thing he did was cry. Once he cried, wouldn't Cherries know? Wait a minute, both of us are dumbfounded. Come up and help me throw the blanket down first. It can cushion the fall. Wang Wan held Zhang Xiaobao's hand tightly and suddenly thought of a better idea. Zhang Xiaobao struggled to climb back and threw things down with Wang Wan. They threw away the blanket directly and kicked the mattress together. Finally, there was a layer of cushion below. Zhang Xiaobao turned over and went down first. He looked up at Wang Wan, who was watching from above, and said with his lips, "It's a little shaky, but it's okay. You go down." Wang Wan confirmed that Zhang Xiaobao was really okay, then she also turned over. When she landed on the mattress, she opened her mouth. Just as she was about to get up, Zhang Xiaobao held her down and said, "Don't move. Let the internal organs calm down first. Later, hold the mattress and slowly walk around." Wang Wan obediently waited for a moment before slowly getting up. She walked around the mattress hand in hand with Zhang Xiaobao. When she found that her feet were not stable, she supported the mattress. She had the consciousness of balance, but the muscles of her legs were difficult to support. Fortunately, both of them were the kind of people who had suffered before. After walking around the mattress 3 times, Wang Wan moved her little feet and asked Zhang Xiaobao, who was beside her, "Yesterday, you said that there was a way to make people believe us and do things according to our ideas. How do you do it?" "It's simple. As long as we can talk, we'll have a reason. Find 2 people to take care of us. Then, I can deceive, no, guide them. Let them think that they should do as we say. I don't think there's any problem with this. You have to trust me." Zhang Xiaobao also strode forward, talking as he walked. The 2 of them walked like this, as if they were strolling, talking about the future. They walked around the mattress again and again until they were a little confused. Wang Wan then suggested, "Let's walk outside. It's better for the child to get more sun. Staying in the house all the time will make her lack calcium." "That's fine. Now that we're used to walking, we can move to another place. First, we should wake Cherries up." Zhang Xiaobao agreed. "Why should we wake her up? What if she doesn't let us go out?" Wang Wan wanted to sneak out. "If you want to see her die in front of us, I'll sneak out with you. If my mother finds out that we rolled out of the mattress and came out by ourselves, and Cherries doesn't know, then don't you think she'll beat her to death?" Well, this possibility is very high, especially in this era. If the existence of capital can risk the risk of being hanged for 300% profit, then at least they will try to reduce the risk and avoid it as much as possible. But if a mother finds that her child is in danger, then she won't even think about avoiding it. It's better to wake her up. Wang Wan thought about it and agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's suggestion. The 2 people reached an agreement and walked hand in hand to Cherries, who was still dozing off. Zhang Xiaobao reached out and gently pushed Cherries. When Cherries suddenly opened her eyes in shock, he said, "Sister Cherries, take us out for a walk." Zhang Xiaobao had already tried to use a calm voice, but the result didn't change at all. When Cherries heard these words, she jumped up in fright. Then she looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and asked with a trembling voice, "You? How did you come down?" As she spoke, Cherries didn't care about anything else and ran directly to the mattress. With one look, she understood that the 2 children had actually pushed down the mattress. How was this possible? "Little Gongzi, Lil Ma, how did you run down?" Cherries didn't know what to say. She quickly rearranged the mattress, squatted in front of the 2 children, and said with a frown, "Let's go outside for a walk." Zhang Xiaobao really didn't want to say more. His little finger pointed outside. Ignoring Cherries' shocked expression, he took Wang Wan's hand and walked out shakily. Cherries was so scared that she hugged the 2 children and wanted to send them back. Wang Wan was really angry this time. She said to Cherries, "Go outside, go outside." She actually wanted to say more, but she was afraid of causing unnecessary trouble, so she could only express her thoughts in such a short way. Cherries looked at the two children's angry gazes and was finally afraid. She was afraid that the two children would say more, especially to the madam. After thinking about it, she compromised and walked out with the two children. When they were outside, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan struggled to get down. Under Cherries' nervous gaze, they walked hand in hand under the sunlight and slowly strolled. Cherries, why did you bring Bao Lang and Cuckoo out? Just as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were enjoying the sunlight, a voice suddenly appeared. Cherries was shocked. Looking at the two children walking there, she really didn't know what to say. Zhang Wang clan walked into the courtyard. After talking about Cherries, she suddenly found a miracle. She pointed at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said to the man and woman next to her, "In-laws, look, Bao Lang and Cuckoo can actually walk." She didn't need to say anything. At this time, the two people also saw the two children walking back and forth hand in hand. "Sister, it's true. They really can walk. Yesterday, I heard from the people you sent that they could talk. I didn't expect that they could walk by themselves today. Look, they know how to walk hand in hand at such a young age." The woman also said excitedly. She wanted to come closer, but was afraid to disturb the two children. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan of course heard these voices. At the same time, they glanced at the hand-holding. They wanted to explain that they were holding hands to maintain balance, but they couldn't say it. When Cherries didn't know what to do, Zhang Wang clan finally said, "Cherries, not bad. You can teach Bao Lang and Cuckoo how to walk. Reward." After that, she took out a piece of wood and threw it to Cherries. When she saw the words on it, Cherries was finally excited. It actually said 21. Chapter 21. The parents of Zhang Wang clan and Wang Wan had no time to care about Cherries' excitement. They were also very excited to see their children learn to talk and walk from birth. This process was the happiest thing for parents. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were looked at and surrounded like treasures. Occasionally, they would call out to them. Zhang Xiaobao didn't mind at all. He was willing to enjoy this kind of warmth, but Wang Wan couldn't stand it anymore. She didn't understand why Zhang Xiaobao, who was already an adult, liked to pretend to be young. It seemed that the organization made a mistake by sending her to ask for money. They should have sent a mother with a child. She believed that they could get more money. In order to avoid this helplessness, Wang Wan had to pretend to be sleepy. She also gave Zhang Xiaobao a hint, thinking that they could continue to interact with each other in the future. Zhang Xiaobao also cooperated with Wang Wan. They both yawned and couldn't open their eyes. When the adults found another place to talk about today's happy things, Wang Wan, who was put back on the couch, finally sighed. She patted Zhang Xiaobao next to her and said, "Can you not be so childish in the future? How old are you? You never know what you have before you lose. How many times can you enjoy this kind of happiness in your life? Besides, I haven't enjoyed it yet. I don't want to have any regrets. You be an adult, and I'll be my child. Let's see who has problems first." Zhang Xiaobao was still thinking about the feeling just now. He narrowed his eyes and persuaded Wang Wan. "Keep pretending. Today, when can we have a quiet space to arrange our own affairs?" Li Yundong said. "You can pretend. When will we have a quiet space to arrange our own affairs? You said that you would help pave the way for your father, but from the looks of it, don't count on it." Wang Wan muttered. She wanted to turn her body to the side, but found that she couldn't do so with her body. The only position she could do was to lie down. "1 week. Give me 1 more week, and I can start to give us an excuse to show our strengths. This week, you and I will continue to talk. Every day, we will increase the content of our conversation to make people believe that we are prodigies." That's settled. Zhang Xiaobao made the final decision. The summer weather changed quickly. A few days ago, it was still sunny, but today, it was gloomy, as if the sun would fall at any moment. The wind swept across the ground in a whirlwind, and even the dirt that was blown up by the wind looked dark. Most people hid in their houses or under a shed that sold tea outside. Only a small number of people were particularly spirited. Seeing that it was about to rain, they carried their umbrellas and walked to places with bridges or tea sheds, waiting for the arrival of the heavy rain. After 7 days of pretending to be prodigies and making the adults proud, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally received special treatment. That was, the two of them could order a servant girl and a manservant or rather, a servant, to do some things. For example, they could let the servant girl and servant carry them outside to see the scenery, or lead them to the back garden to look at the flowers and plants. The two of them especially cherished this kind of restricted freedom. Today, seeing that it was going to rain heavily, they hid in the house and asked people to open the windows so that they could look at the scenery outside. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan both liked this kind of weather, especially the dark clouds in the sky, which gave people a sense of pressure. The two of them were willing to face the pressure, and could be said to be in high spirits as they looked at the scenery outside. This made the servant girl, Cherries, and the other servant, Erniu, suffer. They were afraid that the two little ancestors would be blown by the wind, and worried that the heavy rain would soak them, so they stayed on the side in fear and kept persuading them. Young Master Bao, why don't we take a step back and look again? We can see what the rain looks like, and we can put on some clothes. That will be more comfortable. Erniu was more clever, and he stuck close to Zhang Xiaobao and suggested. Zhang Xiaobao seemed to not hear it. After a while, when it seemed that the rain was about to fall, he suddenly said, Erniu, in a while, when the wind blows in, Cuckoo and I are both wet, and we cry together. When my mother comes, we will say that you pushed us to the window. Do you think my mother will believe your explanation, or the two of us? Zhang Xiaobao was speaking, but what he said shocked Erniu and Cherries. Their mouths were wide open, and they didn't know what to say for a moment. Yes, Xiaobao and I will tell my mother-in-law that the two of you didn't want to take care of us, and that's why you did such a thing. You're preparing to move to another place to work. What will the consequences be? Wang Wan also supported on the side. Erniu didn't have time to think about why the two children would say so many things that shouldn't be said by children. He knelt on the ground with a thump, and his face was squeezed together. He begged Zhang Xiaobao for mercy. Little ancestor, I, Erniu, and my family have been doing our best in Zhuangzi. We have never offended you. You can't do this. Even if I'm not beaten to death, I'll be driven away. My family is finished. I beg you. I'll kowtow to you. Please let me go. Cherries also reacted and knelt down. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were shocked. They didn't expect that such a simple sentence would have such a result. Get up, don't kneel, and don't kowtow. We're just casually asking to see if my mother believes you or us. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to help the two of them up, but when he reached out, he found that he was touching their chests. He was afraid that he couldn't help them up, so he could only persuade them. Little Gongzi, do you still need to ask? No adult would believe that their child can lie at the age of 1. The more Cherries and I explain, the more trouble we'll be in. Moreover, if the two of you say it together, even if Madam knows that you're lying, she will think that you don't like me and Cherries. It means that we didn't take good care of them. Erniu didn't dare to get up and answered honestly. Oh, I see. That's good. Then we have something to discuss with the two of you. What do you think? This was the answer that Zhang Xiaobao wanted. Please say it. Cherries, and I will definitely listen. There's no need to discuss. We'll do whatever you say. Erniu then realized that little Gongzi and Cuckoo didn't sound like children. Cherries also nodded vigorously at the side. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan made a request to Erniu and Cherries. First, no matter how outrageous the two of them were, the two of them couldn't tell anyone, including Madam, Old Master, Old Madam, and Old Master. Second, no matter what they did in the future, they couldn't ask for the reason. They couldn't not do it. At the same time, they couldn't let others find out. Otherwise, they would have to face the consequences themselves. Erniu and Cherries didn't dare to say no. As long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan made a request, they would agree. Offending the two children was worse than offending Madam. If they offended the Madam, their wages would be deducted and they would be beaten. If they offended the children, even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. In any case, if something went wrong, the two children would naturally take the blame. This was also what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan promised. The heavy rain finally fell, hitting the open window with a pitter-patter. The wind also made the window creak. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's mood became better and better. Looking at the heavy mist outside, they looked at each other and smiled. Everything was understood without words. The rain fell for an entire day, and it gradually subsided at night. After drinking milk and waking up, The two of them called Erneu and Cherries over. First, they instructed Cherries to keep watch outside the door. If someone came over, she should inform them in advance. Then, Zhang Xiaobao asked Erneu, Erneu, who else is in your family? Are you married? No, I'm only 17 years old. Although I look strong, I'm actually still young. I'm not in a hurry to get married. I'll wait until my brother marries me first. Oh, my parents are still alive. I have an older brother and a 9-year-old younger sister. My mother said that she would be able to find a wife for my brother after saving for another year. Then, I'll have a sister-in-law. Erneu respectfully replied, Oh, good. It's good that your parents are still alive. It's even better to have an older brother and a younger sister. That's what a family is. I also want to have a younger sister or younger sister. Unfortunately, I'm the oldest. I don't know if my mother will give me a few younger brothers or sisters in the future. What does your older brother do? Zhang Xiaobao continued to ask. Erneu didn't expect to hear such words. Thinking about his own family, it was indeed not bad. He happily smiled and replied, replying to the little Gongzi, my older brother, Daniel, is a farmer during the busy farming season. When he's not busy, he does some odd jobs. He can also get more rice and salt. My younger sister helps to gather some firewood. My parents are also busy farming. When they're not busy, they do some work for others. It doesn't seem like it's the busy farming season right now, right? Zhang Xiaobao asked Wang Wan. Wang Wan thought for a moment and nodded. It's not busy. It'll only be busy in 2 months. We're all idle. Erneu answered when he heard the question. It's good that it's not busy. You can find something to do. Especially your older brother, Daniel. What can he do? Zhang Xiaobao fell into deep thought. Wang Wan knew that this international swindler was going to start scheming again. She was also prepared. If Zhang Xiaobao still wanted to continue swindling, then she would stop him no matter what. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao's frown and couldn't help but secretly worry. For such a big swindler to think of something with such a frown, it wasn't as simple as a small matter. There was no need to doubt the ability of a swindler. I got it. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly shouted excitedly. Got what? You can't lie. Wang Wan was so scared that she trembled. The first thought that came to her mind was that this swindler wouldn't be preparing to swindle the highest official of a certain region, right? For example, the prefectural magistrate, the heads of the 3 provinces and 6 departments, and so on. This was all possible. When he was at the provincial level, he had cheated quite a few of them. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan with slight dissatisfaction and said, To earn a little bit of money, do I need to cheat? Could it be that in your heart, I've always been a swindler? I can also turn back. A swindler says turn back. Who can guarantee that this isn't another scam? Wang Wan didn't give Zhang Xiaobao any face. Zhang Xiaobao gave Erneu a look and solemnly said to him, Forget it, let's not talk about this. Look, Erneu is confused. Let's talk about serious business. This matter needs to be done by Daniel's older brother. Erneu, listen well. I'm giving you a glorious and serious task. Do you have the confidence to complete it? Chapter 22. Erneu still couldn't understand Zhang Xiaobao's deep meaning of deception. He didn't answer with, I'm confident, or I promise to complete the task. Instead, he nodded vigorously and said, Little Lord, please tell me. Erneu, will do whatever you say. Even my brother can do it. What do you want Erneu to do? Wang Wan asked nervously. Don't worry. Listen, I don't want him to commit murder or arson. Zhang Xiaobao turned his head and continued to speak to Erneu. Let your brother and sister go to the mountains to look for chili seedlings. When they come back, I want, young master, what is the mountain chili seedling you mentioned? Erneu didn't wait for Zhang Xiaobao to finish speaking and interrupted to ask. Oh, it's like this. Look at my hand. It's such a big plant. It's grass. It's green. Basically, it should be found in the mountains here. It's spicy when you eat it. Soak it in water, and it won't be so spicy when you eat it. Have you seen it before? Zhang Xiaobao said as he gestured. Erneu looked for a while and nodded. Little Lord, I've seen and eaten it. That's good. Pick this plant. Pick more. Ask your parents to buy fish for me. Try to get fish with fewer bones. Buy more. I'll give you the money. I'll give it to you tomorrow. As for other things, find a blacksmith in Zhuangzi and forge things for me. That's it. I'll draw for you, and you watch. Zhang Xiaobao didn't understand at the moment. He used his hand to pinch a small stick and started to draw on the ground. At this time, he realized that it was inconvenient to do things because he was small. He knew in his heart how to draw. In fact, it was an iron box with a plug board. It was used to bake or dry things. After a while, he finally finished. Erniu looked at it and frowned. He whispered, "Little lord, you want everything to be made of iron? That's not easy. There's so much iron. I can't hide it from people. No matter what you think of, you have to do it for me. If you do it well, you will be rewarded. When we make money in the future, your family can get a share of it. If you don't, I will find someone else. You don't have to follow us anymore." Zhang Xiaobao did not listen to this explanation at all. He did not believe that Erniu, who was so clever, could not handle it. There were difficulties, but it was not impossible to solve them. "Little young master, I'll do it. I don't dare to share the money. It's my duty to do things for the main family. As long as I get a bit of my salary, it'll be fine." Erniu still agreed. Originally, he didn't plan to ask for the rice, but he realized that everyone in his family had to work, so they couldn't do other jobs. That was a lot less, so he mustered up his courage and said it. "We said we'll give you points, so we'll give you points. You can't refute our words, understand?" Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao did not seem to be cheating money and wanted to develop his business. Although he was young, his temperament was not lacking. Erniu nodded. He did not care that it was still drizzling outside. He directly ran out and went home to make arrangements. Wang Wan also had time to interrogate Zhang Xiaobao. "What are you going to do today? What else can I do?" "Make money. In this world, the most basic thing is force. Aside from force, there is also money. Force is not enough now, so I'll make money." Zhang Xiaobao saw that Erniu was going to do things, so he also relaxed and replied slowly. "You frowned, closed your eyes, and opened them. You're so smart? International swindler. You really live up to your name. Tell me, how do you make money?" Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao's cute face and felt that this person was not bad, so she asked with a smile, "Are you scolding me? Don't always mention swindlers. Comrade Wang Wan, I'll solemnly remind you now. Please respect me. I'm a good citizen now, a good person." Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan was also so cute. Both of them were children and children of rich families. They did not lack nutrition, wore good clothes, and were white and fat. Seeing Wang Wan's disapproving face, he continued, "I buy fish to make grilled fish slices and sell them to others. No, it's to exchange them with others. It's not easy to sell, but it's easy to exchange them. That box is used to dry the fish slices. In the future, it can be used as an oven to bake some bread, cakes, and so on. Isn't the grilled fish using horse-faced mackerel? Where did you get this kind of fish from if you ask others to buy it? It seems to be sea fish, right? Then why did you use chili sprouts? Apply it on the fish slices?" Wang Wan still had this little bit of common sense. She knew what kind of fish was used for grilled fish slices. "Who am I? According to what you said, I am a big swindler. How can my idea be so simple? Even if others don't know that the grilled fish slices are dried in an iron box, they can use other methods to grill it. As long as they find it good, they will learn it. There is no patent protection. Our fish is cheap, and we can buy a lot of it with money. But food is expensive. I can ask my mother for money to buy fish, but I can't use it to buy food. In fact, any kind of fish can be used. Using grilled fish slices to exchange for soybeans, the real money is to make big sauce. To be precise, it is to make spicy big sauce with soybeans and diced meat. We sell big sauce, but this big sauce is not used to exchange for things. It is used to sell money or cloth. Who asked this thing to be used like money? When we have enough money, we can move on to the next step. The more capital, the easier it is for me to operate. First, I need to understand the matter of land, buy land, plant things, sell things, and then operate. Of course, if you don't object to me using some tricks, I can directly use money and cloth to operate pure money operations. You should understand what I mean." Zhang Xiaobao still explained slowly. "What do you mean by pure money operations? You want to swindle me again? No. When pure money operations, there is no capital. It is nothing more than getting money into your hands, and the speed must be very fast. I won't allow it. If you are targeted, there is no need to use any law to catch you. There are too many powers in this era. You can't run away. Wang Wan firmly opposed. Zhang Xiaobao thought that Wang Wan would not be fooled by him, but now he understood that Wang Wan was afraid that something would happen to him. His mood was naturally different. After thinking for a while, he said, "Then I won't do that. Based on the capital itself, I will operate. Rest assured, I will not do anything to hurt others. As an international swindler, when I reject the pure plunder capital accumulation, I can think of many ways to earn money slowly. This slow is relative. I will use the production and processing method to carry out." Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wang Wan suddenly realized that this violent, loving, intelligent, and powerful swindler, at this moment, had an expression of having everything under his control, so dazzling. Zhang Xiaobao did not know what Wang Wan was thinking. Even though he had studied a lot of psychology, he had never come into contact with women's psychology. He was now thinking about how to ask his mother for money. This money was in the hands of the Jiang Wang clan. In the end, he decided to bite the bullet and ask for it. The next day, the weather was fine. Erniu had already finished talking to his family and had even stayed at home for the night. Knowing that the young master was anxious about this matter, he hurried back. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had just finished drinking milk and were usually preparing to sleep. Zhang Xiaobao, who usually took the initiative to sleep, suddenly said to Jiang Wang clan today, "Mom, Cuckoo and I want to buy something. We need a lot of money, so we are going to ask Cherries to buy it." "So much? Tell Mom. What does my son want to buy? Mom will buy it for you." When Jiang Wang clan heard that it was a lot of money, she was a bit hesitant. She thought that her son did not know what to buy, so she wanted to ask clearly and buy it herself. Maybe she could even change it, so it did not cost much. Of course, Zhang Xiaobao did not agree. He was counting on using the money to buy fish. 1,000 coins was enough to buy hundreds of fish. Southern fish and northern sheep. Fish had always been very cheap here. He said, "Mom, we want to buy a lot of things, but we can't remember at the moment. Give the money and ask Cherries to buy it." When Jiang Wang clan heard this, she looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan did not know what to say. After all, the money was not taken from her family, so she could only nod. "Okay, Mom will give. If my son wants to buy something, Mom will give. When the time comes, Mom will also take a look. My son will definitely buy better things than others." Hearing her son say so, Jiang Wang clan did not refuse. A lot of money was a lot, but which family's child knew how to spend money at such a young age? Just let him spend, buy whatever he wants. A lot of money can't suddenly disappear. While she was responding to her son, she called Cherries over. She took out a piece of wood and gave it to Cherries. She said, "Cherries, take this money. If you buy anything, remember to report to me. Remember, the price should still be negotiated." "Yes, madam." Cherries took the piece of wood and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Seeing that both of them nodded to Wei Wei, she respectfully agreed. After solving their worries, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan naturally went to sleep. When their mother left, Zhang Xiaobao sighed and said, "I always feel that I cheated my mother." "No, you didn't cheat her at all. You really used that money to buy things. You are not spending it recklessly. Also, you can still make money in the future." Wang Wan comforted. "I am not talking about that. I didn't tell my mother what I was going to do. Are you stupid? If you really told your mother, would she agree? You have to know that there are good intentions and bad intentions in deception. Your deception is to earn money for your family to spend. This is good intentions. It's much better than what you did in the past. More than 30 billion, and it's in US dollars. You took it away just like that. Those officials deserve to die." Wang Wan continued to comfort him. "It is a total assets of more than 200 billion US dollars. Your investigation is not detailed at all. The domestic assets are more than 30 billion US dollars. Zhang Xiaobao explained, "Foreign assets have nothing to do with me. The more I cheat, the better. Justice belongs to all of humanity, but my nationality makes me belong to my own country." Wang Wan looked like she was not suitable to be an Interpol officer. She was a bit radical. With money, Everything was easy. Zhang Xiaobao asked Cherries to take out the money and give it to Erniu. He also told him that if he bought more, he could further lower the price. After buying twice, he could even try to buy on credit. After sending Erniu away to do things, he and Wang Wan continued to exercise and consider their future development. Chapter 23. Erniu was surprised by the money earned from this grilled fish fillet. To be precise, it was earned. He didn't expect that the fish that he didn't like to eat in the past would be so delicious after such processing. These few days, every time he came from home, he would bring a few fish fillets and share them with Cherry. Hey, do you think there are some feelings between Erniu and Cherries that shouldn't exist? Through observation, Wang Wan discovered this point. Why did Erniu only give Cherry fish slices and never give them to her and Zhang Xiaobao? She asked during the walking exercise today. Cuckoo, please change the way you address me. Don't call me Hey. You can call me Xiaobao or Baolang. After all, we are family. Zhang Xiaobao was in a good mood. The grilled fish had been exchanged for a lot of things that could support his future development. Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, I'm not that close to you. Cuckoo is not someone you can call. Don't think that this identity will make us treat you well. Please answer my question directly. Wang Wan was obviously in a good mood. She even had the time to bicker. This was not easy for her. Zhang Xiaobao didn't refute. He was still holding Wang Wan's little hand and walking around the flower bed in the garden. This was enough to explain the problem. There was no need to admit it verbally. They were no longer children. Facts proved everything. He wanted to pick a flower, but found that he wasn't tall enough to climb up the flower bed. He sighed and said, I don't care about the relationship between the two of them. Only when one feels that they can't control their subordinates will they forbid their subordinates from having such behavior or emotions. They are just two people. I think I can control them. As for why you don't give us grilled fish, I have to commend Comrade Erniu. At least he's not stupid. He understands that our teeth are not suitable for such difficult things. Are you saying that I'm stupid? Wang Wan tightened her grip, wanting to hurt Zhang Xiaobao. In the end, she realized that the two of them had similar physical attributes, so she could only give up. Stop clenching. It's useless. Even if you're stronger than me and crush the bones in my hand, do you think I'll be scared? I didn't suffer any less than you. If I make a sound, I won't be called Zhang Xiaobao. Erniu, come here. Look into your eyes. Zhang Xiaobao's little hand suddenly relaxed when Wang Wan squeezed it tightly. He used his non-resistance to let Wang Wan understand that everyone had the same tenacity. He turned his head and called out to Erniu, who had been flirting with Cherries. Young master, what is your command? Erniu was rubbing the slightly hard fish slices for Cherries. Hearing the young master's call, he nimbly ran over, bowed his head and smiled at Zhang Xiaobao. After Cuckoo and I drink milk. When my mother comes out of the room, you can find my mother and tell her that you want to cooperate with her in business. Can you do it? Zhang Xiaobao stared at Erniu and asked, Can or can't I? Erniu originally thought that the young master would just casually talk about something. He didn't expect that the young master would actually ask him to talk to his wife. He was frightened and didn't know how to respond. You're asking me? Your family has made a lot of money these days, right? I've decided to give 10% of the net profit to your family. It depends on whether you can handle the situation or not. Zhang Xiaobao frowned and was somewhat dissatisfied with Erniu's cowardice. Erniu swallowed his saliva. Thinking of the money he earned from the grilled fish slices, he would be lying if he said that he wasn't moved. 10% was already a lot. However, when he thought that he had to face his wife, he felt uncertain. How could he dare to talk to her about cooperation? It seemed like he was asking a tiger for its skin. Say something. What's the use of just wiping your sweat? You still have to face what you have to face. Just now, when you were rubbing the fish slices for Cherries, I didn't see you so hot. Zhang Xiaobao found that his patience seemed to be a little less than before. At the same time, he was disappointed in Erniu. How could such a person do things in the future? Young master, if it was someone else, I would dare, but madam, even if you lent me the courage, I wouldn't dare to talk about cooperation. I know that I have embarrassed you. Why don't you beat me up? Erniu thought about it, but he still couldn't make up his mind. Even if he wanted to risk his life, he still had to choose his opponent. Zhang Xiaobao closed his eyes. He really didn't know what to say. He couldn't even afford to be angry with such a thing that couldn't be shown in public. He turned to look at Wang Wan and negotiated. See if you can get some money from your family. I don't want to ask my mother for money anymore. Didn't you already make money? Why do you still want money? Wang Wan didn't understand. The grilled fish slices had been exchanged for a lot of things: meat, eggs, grains, and oil. Why did Zhang Xiaobao still feel that it was not enough? There was no problem with making sauce. If it was really so simple, then it wouldn't be me, Zhang Xiaobao. I have always done things one step at a time. Grilled fish slices are only sold in those small places around, and I have already achieved such results. Think about it. Some people with a foundation, are they fools? If I'm not wrong, there are already people studying how to make grilled fish slices. I want to use money to advertise and sell the theory of making grilled fish slices. I can make more money. I won't cheat, but I have to make the most profit, right? Zhang Xiaobao felt a little lonely at this moment. It was lonely at the top. You want to sell the oven technology? That's fine. Then I'll try to ask for money. Wang Wan felt that she understood and nodded in agreement. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. Although the oven is easy to make, I definitely won't sell it. I still want to bake cakes in the future. I'm selling the recipe of grilled fish slices. No matter what, I won't take out the oven. I'll talk about it after I bake a cake and attract some people's attention. What's the recipe of grilled fish slices? Isn't it just pickling and drying? Master this most basic thing is enough. Wang Wan tried hard to synchronize with Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts, but she felt that she couldn't do it, so she asked doubtfully, "You don't understand. Don't think that it's easy when I say it. To really master it, it takes many years of accumulation. Let me give you an example. I remember that France saw that there were telescopes in Germany, so they wanted to make them. As a result, they found that there were bubbles in the telescopes they made. They spent a lot of money and finally exchanged this technology. This technology only has one word: stirring. The saltiness is the fundamental problem. I need money to open up the market for me. I want to make a large number of fish slices for free and advertise them in big places. If I want to directly convert the things I exchanged in the early stage into money to buy fish, it will take too long. I don't want to wait. Do I still need to tell you what time is?" Zhang Xiaobao patiently explained. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao's dark eyes. For a moment, she felt like she was being sucked in. She nodded and said, "I used to be called a genius, but now I finally understand that every coincidence is inevitable. You didn't become an international swindler by using tricks. To be honest, I'm a little envious of the education in prison. Like someone once said, the gathering place of geniuses, other than the Academy of Sciences, it's also the prison." The conversation between the two was using lip language. They didn't think much of it, but Erniu was under a lot of pressure. He thought that little Gongzi was ready to give up on him. Thinking about his life in the future, thinking about his parents, he finally made up his mind at this time. "Little Gongzi, I'll do as you say. I'll talk to madam. At most, I'll just lose my life." Zhang Xiaobao was surprised by Erniu's words. He really did plan to give up on Erniu. It wasn't that he didn't want to let him follow him, but that he didn't want to let him come in contact with important things in the future. Now that he heard Erniu's words, the idea of giving up on him changed. He asked, "Why?" "For my parents. I believe that little Gongzi will definitely help me earn a lot of money. I've always wanted my parents to have meat to eat every meal and wear good clothes. I'm going all out." Erniu replied honestly, "Good boy, that's right. You're not bad. Follow me in the future." Zhang Xiaobao praised. At this time, he forgot that he was a real child. Like before, Madame Zhang came over when the children needed milk. She fed the two children one on each side and watched the two little guys fall asleep. When she went out and was about to do her own things, she found that Erniu, who had always been hiding far away in the past, was actually blocking the door today. "Erniu, do you have something to say to me? Is it about Baolang and Cuckoo?" Jiang Wang Clan glanced at Erniu and asked faintly. Erniu had already drunk some wine and was brewing his emotions. He thought that he could speak to the madam directly. At this time, when he heard the madam's question, the courage that was boosted by the wine suddenly disappeared. He looked down at his feet and said timidly, "No, Nothing. Madam, take care. In. Take good care of Xiaobao and Cuckoo. I won't mistreat you in the future. Jiang Wang Clan replied and walked away. Erniu was stunned. He thought for a while and used his hand to pinch his leg. Finally, he gathered his courage and said loudly, Madam, please wait. I have something to say. In? What do you want to say? Jiang Wang Clan stopped and slowly turned around to stare at Erniu and asked. At this time, Erniu knew that he couldn't back down anymore. He allowed the sweat to flow down his forehead. He swallowed his saliva and stuttered, Madam, I want to talk to you about business. Yes, that is about business. Oh, you want to talk to me about business? Good, Erniu. You've grown up. Speak. What kind of business do you want to talk about to buy yourself back? Jiang Wang Clan was puzzled. She didn't know what was wrong with Erniu today. Why did he want to talk to her about business? What a joke. What qualifications did he have? The thing that he wanted to sell himself was still in her hands. No, it's not me. It's my family. My family didn't sell it here. My parents, my brother, and my sister are all farmers. My family's business, grilled fish fillets, is sold in the surrounding areas. Our Zhuangzi doesn't have the grilled fish fillets yet. Let's talk about this. Erniu tried to calm himself down and said while trembling, Grilled fish fillets? Did you say grilled fish fillets? Did your family make them? How dare you? Your family is a farmer in Zhuangzi. Why didn't you tell me what you made first? Jiang Wang Clan shouted angrily. Chapter 24. Hearing the madam's question, Erniu didn't even think about it and directly knelt down. He didn't dare to face the angry madam. He thought about giving up the little Gongzi, but he suddenly thought that if he really did, would the little Gongzi be punished? Of course not. The madam only praised the little Gongzi and praised him. The problem was, after praising him, would he still be alive? If the madam didn't punish him, the little Gongzi could find a random reason to kill him. Therefore, Erniu felt that the only thing he could do was to not say anything and wait for the madam's anger. Even if the madam let someone else beat him up, it would be good. As for an explanation, what should he say? Could it be that the little Gongzi deliberately told him not to buy fish from these two Zhuangzi? Hold on, the madam won't beat him to death. Tell me, why didn't you tell me that the fish was made by your family? I didn't know that there was such a person in Zhuangzi. You must have made a lot of money, right? What are your plans in the future? When the Jiang Wang clan saw Erniu like this, she tried to control her tone and slowly said, Madam, I can't tell you. Madam, I can't say it. Even if you beat me to death, I can't say it. The only thing I can say is that I, Erniu, and my family have never done anything to let down the Zhang family's manor. Madam, you will definitely know in the future. Even if I, Erniu, die for the manor, I will not think of harming the manor. I am just talking about business. Erniu knelt on the ground and clenched his fists. His face was already full of tears, but even so, he didn't sell Zhang Xiaobao. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao was lying on the bed. He clearly heard the conversation and actually laughed. Wang Wan also heard it. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao's expression, she said angrily, Why didn't you stand up to save him? You laughed because you think that Erniu is stupid and should be laughed at? Bullshit. When did I laugh at Erniu? Erniu will be my family in the future. I laughed because I, Zhang Xiaobao, had someone who was willing to die for me in my previous life. In this life, it's worth it. Erniu will be my brother in the future. When he's alive, I'll let him enjoy glory and wealth. If he dies, I'll take care of his family in his place. If you want me to go out, I'll go out. How can I face Erniu? Zhang Xiaobao suddenly cursed and stood up from the couch. His smile didn't change, but his small hands were tightly clenched. How can you buy people's heart? I don't believe it. Wang Wan was a little jealous. Zhang Xiaobao could get her information whenever he wanted, but Zhang Xiaobao's whereabouts could only be exposed if he wanted to. The difference was too big. You don't believe it? Let me tell you, on that day, until the last moment of the explosion, I could still run away if I wanted to. I didn't call for them, but my brothers were already in position. As long as I made a gesture, the 6 snipers on your side would immediately be killed. It's just that I don't have that much time left, and I don't want to hurt you. Don't think that you're so powerful. Let me tell you, in your organization, there are some people who are nothing compared to Ernio. Ernio still knows his place and knows loyalty. The people in your organization have already sold their souls. Not everyone is you, Wang Wan, and not everyone can be a Ba Wang flower. Zhang Xiaobao finally got angry. He also had his own bottom line, and he wouldn't allow anyone to touch it. He said to Wang Wan mercilessly. Wang Wan was dumbfounded. It wasn't that she didn't think that there were people in the organization who betrayed her, but she just didn't want to believe it. At this moment, the last bit of hope in her heart was shattered. Of course, she understood the meaning behind Zhang Xiaobao's words. She didn't hate Zhang Xiaobao, nor did she hate the people who betrayed her. After all, not everyone could be like her. She was just a little jealous. Zhang Xiaobao was just a liar. How could he have such good brothers? The two of them had their own thoughts. Outside, Ernyu and Jiang Wang clan were also confronting each other. You're really not going to say it? Jiang Wang clan asked word by word. Even if you beat me to death, I won't say it, Ernyu stubbornly replied. Wang Wan, who was thinking about something in the room, almost laughed out loud when she heard Ernyu's words. All right then, tell me, how do you want to cooperate? Jiang Wang clan thought for a while, then turned around to look at the room she just came out of and asked, Madam, give me another 2 strings of money. I'll use it to buy fish, make fish fillets, and then give it to people for free in other bustling places, especially a high-end restaurant. After 5 days, I'll return 50 strings of money to you. Ernyu said according to Zhang Xiaobao's preset words. Jiang Wang clan smiled, nodded, and gently said to Ernyu, Ernyu, you've always been a smart person in my family. Almost everyone thinks so, but I know you, and I trust you. That's why I put Xiaobao and Cuckoo in your care. Since you want this money, then I'll give it to you. If you can get 50 strings of money, then 50 strings of money. Even if you lose money in the end, it's not a big deal. Don't think too much about it. Your mother should be happy to have a son like you. I think your mother knows what kind of person you are, just like me. It's over, my mother knows. Zhang Xiaobao, who was standing on the couch, said faintly. Yes, no one knows a son better than his mother. Wang Wan, who also heard Jiang Wang clan's words, agreed. My mother said that for me. Zhang Xiaobao smiled. Then why are you so happy? Wang Wan asked. Why wouldn't I be happy? My mother is so smart. Of course I have a reason to be happy. My father, that bookworm, is lucky. Zhang Xiaobao fell down from the couch, and with a plop, he lay down beside Wang Wan. He said to Wang Wan, who was dissatisfied with his action, Today is the happiest day of my life. I found a good brother, and I know how great a mother's love is. What's the extent? Wang Wan really couldn't understand the extent to which a mother unconditionally supports her child. Listen, my mother will definitely agree. This reminds me of something written in a book. As a mother, even if she knows that her child will be scalded by boiling water, she will still support him unconditionally. She will secretly watch, and if there is any danger, she will directly rush to hold the kettle and not let her child get scalded. Zhang Xiaobao said emotionally. So what? A person's nobility and greatness is because of this. Wang Wan was still refuting Zhang Xiaobao. Even if she was touched, she still refused to admit defeat. Wrong, it's not just humans. It's the same for animals. If you've seen hunters hunting, you'll understand. Those animals that bite off their own legs to escape from the trap must be females, because they want to go back to feed their own children, Zhang Xiaobao said. Don't tell me these useless things. I don't like to hear them. Wang Wan turned her head away. She didn't want Zhang Xiaobao to see her red eyes. She thought of her family in her previous life. Okay, I won't say anything, just listen. Zhang Xiaobao was grateful to God. He finally had parents in this life. Cherries, come here. Take the money. When the time comes, give it to Ernie. Madame Zhang, who was outside, called out to the house. Ying Tao immediately ran out and took the piece of wood that represented 2 strings of money. Ernie, you should also get up. Remember my words. I believe you can take good care of Ernie. Later, go to the accountant's office and get some meat. Then go back home and have a good meal. Jiang Wang clan took out another wooden piece and threw it to Ernie, who was kneeling there, then slowly walked away. Erniu seemed to wake up from a dream. He trembled as he picked up the wooden piece and looked at his wife's back as she walked away, speechless for a long time. Just as Zhang Xiaobao said, when people saw that the fish fillet was profitable, they immediately started to imitate it, and the price was lower, but the sales were not good. First, the saltiness of the fish fillet was uneven, and second, the fish fillet could not be roasted to the same degree as Erniu's. The heat was not controlled well at all. After receiving the money, Erniu immediately started to buy a large amount of raw fish according to Zhang Xiaobao's instructions and sent the fish fillets to some restaurants for free tasting. 5 days later, the free roasted fish fillets suddenly disappeared. Men actually did not like to eat this food. No matter how delicious it was not as good as marinated beef with wine, but children and women liked it. These two people were really important, to the point that any man with a normal sexual orientation had to consider it. After 5 days of free roasted fish fillets, the restaurants had to carefully consider the economic benefits of this food, which was how much money they could make. The most direct example was the brothels. There were many women there, and they had already treated the fish fillets as an indispensable snack. Next were the men who were looking for a woman, and they had to bring some back to please the woman. The last were those who had children. When they were eating and drinking, they found that the children liked the fish fillets, so they had to bring some back. Then, they would throw it to the children with a straight face and say a few stern words. This was the depth of a father's love. But now that the supply had suddenly stopped, the fish fillets that appeared in other places were much worse than this. Just the balance between the saltiness of the fish fillets was incomparable. The owner of the restaurant became anxious and asked around to find out where the fish fillets were made. Wanting to find out, Erniu had been listening to the young master's orders all this time, which was to say, he was remotely commanding. When he saw that many people were asking, he asked his elder brother to take the lead and compete. Although it was said that he was selling the recipe, in fact, it was only one thing, and that was the marination or the deep processing of the sea fish. Such a simple thing, before it was announced, made people yearn for it endlessly. When someone spent 120 taels of silver to get it, they could only keep it in their hearts. Didn't I tell you to take copper coins? You just had to bring back so much money. Tell me, if I want to buy something, you take the money to pay for it? I want to buy 200 caddies of soybeans, and you take so much money to look for trouble? What do you want me to say to you? If I want to sell a piece of tofu now, you take the money and buy it for me to see? Do you want to use silver in your future business transactions? If you feel that you are tired of living, don't drag me to die with you. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the small pile of money that Erniu had placed in front of him and patted his head. Then, he looked at Erniu's sad expression and knew that this was done by Erniu. He could only sigh and let Erniu give the money to his mother first, and slowly exchange the rest for copper coins to carry out the next step of the plan. Chapter 25. When Erniu listened to Zhang Xiaobao and returned the money, the Jiang Wang clan was a little surprised. She stared at Erniu and asked, "How much did your family earn this time? Did you borrow the money from somewhere else to return it to me?" "Madam, where did I get so much money from? It's all my family's money." Erniu was about to say little master, but fortunately, he was smart enough to grasp the key moment and press the blame on himself. The Jiang Wang clan carefully looked at Erniu again and nodded slowly. "Erniu, how much did your family earn this time? Return me 50 strings of coins. Do you have any left?" "Yes, I earned 120 taels of silver this time, so I still have 70 taels of silver left." No matter how smart Erniu was, he was not as smart as the Jiang Wang clan. He didn't understand the meaning of the madam's question, so he told the truth. "Oh, so much money? Then what you returned was silver, but what you kept were copper coins." "No, it's still silver, but I forgot that my parents told me to exchange it for copper coins. It's not easy to spend it now." Erniu didn't know why, but he was afraid when he saw the madam, so he couldn't speak properly. "If that's the case, then I'll exchange it for copper coins. After all, you are a member of the Zhang family, so it's good that you can earn money." The Jiang Wang clan solved Erniu's problem. Erniu didn't know what was going on, so he returned with the 70 strings of coins in the cart. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao, he said happily, "Little master, you don't have to think of other ways. The madam actually exchanged all the silver in my hand for copper coins. This is great. I didn't expect the madam to be so easy to talk to. Little master? Little master? Don't just stand there. I brought the money back. As Rendezvous spoke, he realized that the little young master was looking outside without moving. He was a little worried and waved his hand in front of Zhang Xiaobao. Oh, okay. Rendezvous, is your mother's mouth okay? Zhang Xiaobao suddenly asked. It's not that good. My father said that it's because my mother was too tired when she was young. She lost quite a few of her teeth, so she doesn't like to eat hard things. Rendezvous couldn't keep up with Zhang Xiaobao's pace, so he answered whatever he was asked. Your teeth don't taste good. Meat is a waste of time, right? Come, Rendezvous, I'll teach you a way. When you go back, you can cook for your mother. Prepare such a big copper basin, or you can make something according to what I've drawn for you. Use copper. Zhang Xiaobao didn't think about the money at all. He directly drew a basin on the ground. The middle was hollowed out, and a tube with a bulging belly protruded out. Below the tube was a grate. According to the explanation, it was made of iron wire. Make this thing. Put charcoal in the middle, and you can get rid of the charcoal residue at the bottom. Put the spices you think you can put in, and add lard. In addition, use a stove and a pot to boil the wheat flour until it's sticky. Mix twice the amount of water and put the water into the thing just now. When the water boils, you put the mutton in and cook it. As soon as the color changes, take it out and give it to your mother. She will definitely be able to bite it, and the 100 boiled meat won't be old. After a while, you go back and find someone to make it. It's best to find different people to make different parts. Keep it a secret and don't tell anyone. Make one more. Yes, 2 more. Send it to my mother and Cuckoo's mother. Tell them the method you used, and emphasize that it's a secret. Do you understand? Zhang Xiaobao pointed at the drawing on the ground and said to Rendezvous, I understand. Little young master, don't worry. I won't say anything even if you beat me to death. Little young master, why are you so kind to my mother? Rendezvous asked blankly. What are you talking about? What do you mean by kind to your mother? I'm asking you to be kind to your mother. Don't ask anymore. Just go back and make food for your mother as I said. Now, let's get down to business. Do you know anyone who makes porcelain? Zhang Xiaobao continued to ask. While Rendezvous was thinking, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao with her lips, Your mother is really good to you. She knows that you can't spend money directly, so she changed it to copper coins for you. She even found an excuse that she thinks is reasonable. She doesn't want you to know. It's not easy to be a mother. I'll tell you the truth. Don't be unhappy. I'm a little glad that your parents are gone. Otherwise, you will definitely find your parents. At that time, if your parents in your previous life were to be laid off or bullied, there will definitely be a bloody storm. I'm scared just thinking about it. Your current state is sick. Do you know that? You're not sick. I pray that your mother in your previous world will be killed by a car tomorrow. Zhang Xiaobao's lips moved. Wang Wan was like a wolf that wanted to eat people. She suddenly pounced on Zhang Xiaobao and strangled his neck. She said in a low voice, Say that again? I'll bite you to death. See, you still say that I'm sick. You're not much better. Do you understand? We're the same kind of people. Don't touch my bottom line in the future. Yes, I just understood that it was my mother who supported me without reservation. I thought of Ernie's mother and wanted to use his hands to give some benefits to my mother and your family. I don't think I did anything wrong. You can say that I don't have any defense in front of this kind of family, but you can't insult me. Zhang Xiaobao didn't struggle at all. It was impossible for a little kid like Wang Wan to strangle him to death. Then you're talking about my mother? Okay, I'll forgive you for the time being. Don't tell me what you don't want to do to others. Continue cooking your hot pot. Wang Wan actually wanted Zhang Xiaobao to not be so childish. Once he faced his family, he would lose his toughness. However, she suddenly found that she was the same. She resentfully got up and stood aside. Rendezvous was scared. He wanted to pull her back but didn't dare. Seeing that the two ancestors finally separated, he took a few breaths and calmed down again. Thinking of what the little young master asked just now, he replied, Little young master, what do you want to do if you can find someone who can make porcelain? Make things. Make all kinds of exquisite small jars. Don't be too big, as long as it can hold 4 liters of water. for jars can hold one caddy. The more beautiful, the better. How's your family's chili picking? Zhang Xiaobao calmed down and said to Erniu, we've picked a lot. Little young master, how much do you want? Is the money used to make porcelain jars? Erniu finally realized that he was almost like a fool in front of this child who was less than 1 year old. He couldn't figure out what the little young master was thinking. If he didn't earn more than 100 taels of silver this time, he would really think that he was just fooling around with the child. Before Zhang Xiaobao could say anything, Wang Wan gave an order. She still understood this kind of thing. Continue to pick. It's best to let others help you pick them. You can buy them with money. The more the better. Even if you pick all the chili from the surrounding mountains, it's fine. How about this? 1 copper coin for 3 caddies. Let those children who have nothing to do pick them. 1 copper coin for 3 caddies. Erniu asked with his eyes wide open. Why? Is the money too little? Wang Wan was a little uncertain. It's too much. You can find them all over the mountain. Just let a child go to the mountain, and he can bring back 40 to 50 caddies in a day. Erniu now wanted to rush to the mountain to pick them. So much? Then buy more. 1 copper coin for 5 caddies. You can't reduce it anymore. But you can adjust the purchasing method. You can buy every 300 caddies. This way, when fewer and fewer chili plants are picked, there will still be people picking them. If you can't gather 300 caddies, you won't be able to earn any money. This kind of small matter could be handled by Wang Wan herself. She didn't need this big liar, Zhang Xiaobao. Erniu still didn't know what the little young master and the little miss of the Wang family were thinking, but he still nodded in agreement. After all, he was the kind of person who was smart. He understood that he could be ignorant of many things, but there was one thing that he must do, and that was loyalty. He would do whatever he was told. After waiting for Erniu to accept the order and leave, Wang Wan was still a little worried. She asked Zhang Xiaobao, let Erniu's family do such a big thing? Why don't we split up and let Cherries do something as well? How big of a thing is it? Why didn't I realize how important this matter is? It's just a small amount of money. Cherry still has other things to do. I don't expect to rely on one thing to make a fortune. I want to continuously make small things and earn a little of each. When added together, it will naturally be more. Cherries, come here. I have something to discuss. Zhang Xiaobao had an indifferent expression. As he spoke, he called out to Cherries, who was still vigilantly looking outside. Little young master, you're looking for me? Cherries also knew about the money Erniu earned these few days. 70 taels 10% was 7 taels of silver. It was enough for her to work for several years without being penalized. Her family was also in Zhuangzi, who didn't want to earn more money for their family. She quickly ran over. Come, I'll draw something for you. Look at it. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the wooden stick and began to draw on the ground. Little young master, what is this? Cherries looked at the drawing and asked, This is called a Kong. Kong? What's it for? This thing is very useful. It's most useful in winter, and it's also useful now. Wait for Erniu to come back. Ask him for money and buy eggs. Buy eggs that are specially laid by roosters and hens. Try not to shake the eggs as much as possible. There are also chickens in my yard. See which chicken is hugging the nest. Ask someone to hold it down and put your hand in to feel the heat and cold. When the Kong is ready, put the collected eggs on the Kong and cover it with something. Light the fire until the temperature is about the same as the temperature under the chicken's body. And try to collect as many eggs as possible. One end should be round and the other end should be pointed. If both ends are round, you can also collect them. If both ends are pointed, you can forget about it. Cherries blinked and seemed to understand. The little young master wanted to make chickens by himself. He didn't need to hug the nest, but directly use the Kong. If he could really make chickens, it would be crazy. Many people would go crazy. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care how many people would go crazy. He continued to draw and said, Cherries, look at this. Make a small board and arrange a few mirrors. Put the wax in the area surrounded by the mirrors and light it. Hold the egg and look at it. Every 5 or 6 days, look at it again and see the shadow of the bones inside. Forget it, let's not talk about this. You don't understand. Cherries nodded and remembered everything Zhang Xiaobao said. She excitedly stood up and left. She was a little dazed. This little young master was really too different from ordinary people. Everyone was confused by what he said. You want to hatch chickens? Look at eggs? What do you mean by round and sharp? Wang Wan waited for Cherries to leave. Wei Wei tilted her head and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. A real expert can directly distinguish the male and female. I don't know how to do that. Usually, the round ones are female and the sharp ones are male. There is a probability. In this era, chickens are actually not as good as cows and sheep. This requires my next plan. Teach others to eat chickens and various ways to eat them. We can raise chickens and earn a sum of money. When the money is added up, you will find that it is a huge number. Zhang Xiaobao blinked and said, That's not right. How can you, Zhang Xiaobao, only use this thing to earn a sum of money? Then you are not Zhang Xiaobao. Say, what other plans do you have? Your smile is not the smile of a normal person. What is the point of picking out the eggs? Wang Wan did not believe that this international swindler did not have a backup plan. If that was the case, it could be regarded as a world miracle. Zhang Xiaobao scratched his sparse hair with his chubby little hands and pretended to smile shyly. You found out again. Oh God. Oh Earth. Why did you put a policeman beside me? Actually, it's nothing much. It's just that I'm going to use the chicken to exchange for cows and horses. After all, my family is a landlord, and I can't farm without cows and horses. As for the eggs, I will use them to deceive people. No, to help people. First, I will use mutton soup and fish soup to cook them. Then, I will use the juice of the chili and other things to roast them. They have one effect, and that is to speed up people's blood circulation. People with cardiovascular diseases cannot eat them. When ordinary men eat them, they will find that they are a little impulsive. It is related to what you want to expose me. Not only can it be sold for money, it can be sold for a lot of money. Do you understand? Hooligan, Wang Wan said. Chapter 26. Erniu and Cherries both had things to do. For a time, there was no one to take care of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Wang clan also sent Pomegranate, who had held an umbrella for her before. In the afternoon, under the scorching sun, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were struggling to walk on the sand. Children didn't sweat much, but even so, their foreheads were glistening. The thin clothes they were wearing had been changed once, but the two still had no intention of going back to sleep. Pomegranate, water. Xiaobao stopped and raised his arm to wipe the sweat off his forehead. He called out to Shirlu, who was looking at him with a pained heart. Shirlu had been watching all this while. She couldn't figure out why these two children were walking back and forth on this sandy ground. Most children wouldn't be willing to do so, but if the adults forced them to do so, they would have already cried. When she heard the call, she hurriedly took the water beside her and passed it to them. Seeing the two children drinking water with all their might, Pomegranate couldn't understand. They didn't drink tea or sugar water, but insisted on drinking salt water. She had tasted this water before, and it didn't taste good at all. When she drank it, it only felt a little fishy in the mouth. It was not salty, nor was it bland. But the little Gongzi pointed out that they must drink this water. If they drank salt water, wouldn't they be more thirsty? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't know what Pomegranate was thinking. After drinking half a bellyful of salt water, they exhaled comfortably together, stood up straight, and walked forward. Hold on, there are still 200 meters left today. It's only 5 round trips. Just grit your teeth and it'll be over. This is a rare opportunity. Zhang Xiaobao's calves couldn't help but tremble because of walking on the sand. Their task today was to walk 500 meters. For adults, 500 meters was nothing, but for two children who had just turned 1, it was an overload. I know, children don't want to exercise when they're young, and it's too late when they want to exercise when they're older. With children's bodies and adult perseverance, this is the best opportunity to exercise. I believe that if you continue to train like this, you won't have any problems jumping down from 20 meters. But I guess you won't be able to read at night. You must have no strength at all. Wang Wan also didn't feel good. She fell down while speaking and slowly got up. That depends. In the future, if you're not literate and don't understand some of the illusions in a contract or something, you'll be at a disadvantage. I can still recognize most of the words and can write some of them. After all, I stayed on the island for a period of time, so I can't understand the illusions. All I think about is lying all day, so I don't have time to read those. Zhang Xiaobao grinned as he watched Wang Wan get up on her own. He didn't have any intention of helping her. Wang Wan finally got up and held Zhang Xiaobao's hand again as they moved forward together. Her face was red from the sun, but she refused to give up and said, "Yes, I'll learn. Even if I have to lie there, I'll still learn. I was a genius back then. Oh my God, this is even more tiring than when I was in the special operations team. There's no one to give us massages and scientific guidance. Soon, we'll reach the end. There are still 4.5 trips left. Stop dreaming. Once we get used to this intensity, we'll have to reformulate the training program. Just bear with it. If you want to show off in front of others, you'll have to suffer behind them. Who asked us to be different from others?" Zhang Xiaobao also staggered. He loosened his grip and fell. He opened his mouth and spat out sand. He pulled Wang Wan's hand and started walking again. The two of them held hands and didn't care about each other's fall. It was only to better control their balance. If they really fell because of physical exhaustion, they didn't care about each other. The strong didn't need anyone's pity. In a room where they could see the situation, a man and a woman stood by the window. Both of them had tears in their eyes as they watched the baby get up after falling. "Shower, is this still my son? I heard you say that the incident with Ernia's family was caused by Xiao Bao. How old is he? Could he be a monster?" The man asked doubtfully. "What monster? That's my son. Other people's children can't do that, but my son can. He's better than other people's children. When you see a scary place, you have to think, this is a god, not a monster. Whose child can compare to Xiao Bao? When I was pregnant with him, I knew that my future son would be different. Look at how much I could eat. I ate more than other men." Zhang Wang Clan retorted. These words were unreasonable. As long as it was her son, he would be better. He would fall more beautifully than other people's children. He could eat a mouthful of sand and still not cry. Whose child could do that? The man was Zhang Xiaobao's bookworm father. He had heard a lot of strange things recently, and one of them was related to his son. So, he took some time to come over with his wife to take a look. He didn't expect to see such a scene. Not to mention a child. Even an adult would hide under the blazing sun. But reality told him that the determination of the two children was terrifying. There were a few times when he wanted to rush over, carry his son, and ask him what he was doing. But he was stopped by his wife. His wife said, "Isn't it good for the children to play?" Other people's children wouldn't move when they were told to. His children were sensible and good-looking. They walked with their legs, sometimes high and sometimes low. What was there to be afraid of if they fell? They were fine on the sand. The sand had been sifted and sifted. It was fine and wouldn't hurt anyone. Mr. Zhang thought about what his wife said about Ernia's family earning money. He looked at the two stubborn children in front of him and felt that something was wrong. When he heard Xiao Er's words, he sighed and said, "Aren't you afraid that these two children are possessed by something? Which family's children can be like this?" Cherries was also sent out to collect new eggs. I heard that she's specifically picking them. I don't know what she's doing. If it doesn't work, we'll get a master to take a look. We can't harm our own children. What monster? A monster can call me mother and call you father? Is your family's monster heart so good? This is her ability. Didn't you notice it back then? My stomach is different from other people's? Zhang Wangshi had been in charge of the household for a long time. She was not as respectful to her husband as other people. She would say whatever was on her mind. In any case, she only had one thing in mind. Zhang Xiaobao was her biological son. If her son did well, it was the mother who gave birth to him. What's different? I think it's all the same. Who can eat the same amount? Mr. Zhang felt that he couldn't communicate with his wife. As long as they talked about their son, everything was good. Husband, tell this concubine, which pregnant wife do you think is a good one? If she's from a poor family, we can spend money to buy her and let you look at her as much as you want. Jiang Wang Clan asked angrily. Mr. Zhang was really afraid of his wife being like this. Other families had a few women, but his family was different. Wang Qiao and the Wang family's wife from Zhuangzi joined forces to oppose him. Fortunately, he was focused on obtaining scholarly honors, so it was fine. Now that he had a son, he was fine with it. If other women really came to his house, they might not cause much trouble. But Wang Zhuang's brother gave birth to a daughter. If the next one gave birth to a daughter, couldn't he take in a concubine? He turned to look at Wang Qiao's frosty face and didn't say anything. He just sighed heavily. This was bad. When his sigh was heard by Zhang Wang clan, her eyes immediately turned red and she began to cry. She cried and said, "When we first married, what did you say? You said that you would only be good to me. Now, it's fine if you look at someone else's wife's belly, but you actually said that my son is a monster. What did I do in my previous life? Why am I involved in this? I'm going to look for my mother-in-law. Divorce me. I'll just bring my monster son out. Let them be jealous. Madam, don't be angry. Look at our son. He's so good. Even the sound of him choking when drinking water is better than other children. Pomegranate, if you don't look after him and let Xiaobao choke, I'll skin you alive." Mr. Zhang didn't know what to do. Madam said to divorce, but she didn't ask him to. Why did she have to look for her mother-in-law? She was clearly complaining. She was already an adult. It wasn't worth it to let his parents teach her a lesson. He happened to see Xiaobao drinking water and wanted to praise him to divert Madam's attention. He didn't expect to see Xiaobao choking on water. After praising him, he realized that he had vented all his anger on Pomegranate. Needless to say, it really worked this time. When Madame Zhang heard her husband mention the child, she immediately looked over. Her tears were gone, and her sobbing stopped. Only when she saw that her son was fine did she feel relieved. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard the sound and turned their heads at the same time. Only then did they realize that someone was watching them. It wasn't that they weren't vigilant. If it was before they started training, they would have already heard the sound. Now, they were tired to death and their body functions were greatly reduced. Just standing up and walking was already putting in all their effort. How could they notice anything else? Should we conserve some of our energy for training in the future? It's too dangerous to do this. We didn't even notice that someone was watching us. Wang Wan poured water on her head to lower her temperature and asked worriedly, "There's no need for that. This is not watching, this is caring. My parents are watching us. Why should we be vigilant? Who should we be vigilant of in our own yard? Not to mention that there won't be any danger. Even if a few people with knives suddenly rushed in to kill us, do you have a way to avoid them? Hurry up and train. There are still 3.5 more." Zhang Xiaobao still had the mood to wave his small hands at his parents. He turned around and moved forward. "Okay, even if I have to crawl, I will finish this distance." Wang Wan and Wei Wei closed their eyes and relaxed their muscles except for their legs. They swayed as they followed. Zhang Xiaobao's father and Zhang Wang clan saw their son waving his hands. His dirty little face made them want to laugh, but they couldn't. Looking at the few feet of sand, they both knew that their son was challenging his body's limits. "Madam, you're right. No child can compare to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They're so hard on themselves at such a young age. They'll definitely be even better when they grow up." Zhang Xiaobao's father sighed. Chapter 27. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished crawling 40 meters of sand, they were so tired that they lay there motionless. Pomegranate, who had been accompanying them the whole time, was really frightened. What kind of children were they? When they crawled the last 20 meters, she clearly saw the two children's short arms and legs trembling nonstop. She knew that she had a similar experience and knew what it felt like. Moreover, her arms and legs were fine before. When she first came to Zhuangzi, she was not familiar with how to do things and was punished. At that time, she kept cursing in her heart, but she did not dare to refuse. If she did not work, her family life would be cut off. At that time, if someone let her rest, she would be grateful to that person for the rest of her life. But now, why did the little master and Cuckoo do this? Did they say that they were playing? Which family's children were so desperate to play? If someone really allowed their children to play like this, the children would have cried and looked for their mother. Thinking of this, Pomegranate felt a little admiration in her heart. She told herself that maybe the children of rich families were so amazing. Looking at the children's sand-covered bodies, red faces, and small hands, Pomegranate asked someone to prepare the bathwater and walked closer to the two children, wanting to carry them. "No, we can walk after lying down for a while." Ask someone to heat up the bathwater and warm up the old wine. Just warm up a big pot. Go, don't worry about us. Zhang Xiaobao used all his strength to shake his head and ordered Pomegranate. Pomegranate hesitated for a moment, but still did as the little master said. She did not leave, but stood by the side and arranged everything. It's so damn comfortable. Aya, when was the last time I was so tired? I miss those days. Zhang Xiaobao said in a muffled voice, basking in the sun, face down, and sticking his head to the wet sand that he had pushed away with his head. Isn't that so? It's fine today, but it will be hard to train tomorrow. Even if we eat too much milk, we will be hungry at night. Xiaobao, what do you want to eat tonight? Wang Wan imitated Zhang Xiaobao and used her head to push the sand. Who knows? I don't want to think about this right now. I just want to lie down and sleep. Zhang Xiaobao stuck his little hands into the sand. It was cool there. Wang Wan followed suit. No, you have to think carefully. That little milk will affect our training tomorrow. If you can stand greasy food, then drink mutton soup. Ask them to boil the mutton until it's soft. Don't put too much salt and other spices. If you want to eat something light, then eat cucumber and egg soup. Don't put too many cucumbers, stir the eggs, and add some chopped green onions. It's better than going hungry. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to eat something light right now. Mutton soup. Just bear with it if you feel disgusted. After all, it can replenish energy quickly. If there is too much gruel and water, the calories will come slowly. Our rice isn't very good. Wang Wan chose the dish that she didn't want to eat the most. Zhang Xiaobao used all his strength and was finally able to stand up. He pulled Wang Wan, and the two of them walked together to the shade. Their staggering steps made Pomegranate worried. After soaking in the hot water for almost an hour, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan massaged each other with the warm wine. When it was their turn to be massaged, they would bite the clothes next to them and endure the soreness. Everyone was driven out. The two of them didn't want others to see their uncomfortable appearance. Xiaobao, the alcohol content of this wine is too low. Let's distill it. The body absorbs it slowly, and the alcohol is evaporated. Wang Wan hummed and said, I don't like it. It's useless. If you want to make drunk prawns, Shaoxing yellow wine is the best. It can be used to treat wounds and disinfect. Wang Wan continued to persuade. She didn't know the steps of distilling, but she thought that Zhang Xiaobao had no problem. No, I dislike alcohol. It can easily cause pus to form under the scabs. When I was injured before, I directly used yellow iodine water. You can also get injured. You're such a powerful person. Wang Wan had nothing to say. She was almost crying when Zhang Xiaobao massaged her. How can I be injured? Why don't I get injured? I always get injured when I practice. Luckily, I have the money I stole from the officials to support me. There was once when I jumped down from 13 meters and broke both my legs. 200,000 yuan was sent to the hospital, and they treated me like I was their ancestor. When my legs recovered, I continued to jump and finally found that feeling. After Xiaobao finished massaging Wang Wan's last leg, he directly lay down on the ground. Wang Wan gritted her teeth and got up. She began to massage Zhang Xiaobao. I, a great beauty, am massaging you. Are you happy? Is it comfortable? What feeling? Now, whoever touches me will have the same feeling. How did you make yellow iodine water? When I was cheating people, I didn't mention this thing. If I knew it would be like this, I would have learned it. It's just a matter of a few sentences, and I can memorize it. Zhang Xiaobao gritted his teeth, sucked in cold air, and snorted. What you asked Ernie's family to do, and what about Cherry's side? Have you thought about what to do in the end? What if it's leaked? Wang Wan pressed both hands on Zhang Xiaobao's back. Her whole body weight was almost pressing on him. Zhang Xiaobao was just about to speak when he suddenly snorted. When Wang Wan changed positions, he exhaled and said, Don't be afraid. There are many ways to make money. When others learn it, we will do other things. This kind of thing is like cheating people. It needs to be flexible. In this era, it's not easy to keep a secret. Okay, you're good. What about the hot pot? Don't you want to sell it for money? When your family and I are done eating, we'll publicize it for free so that everyone who is willing to eat like this will know how to make hot pot. When the time comes, we'll sell the ingredients. In fact, the most normal thing to do is to put starch. That way, The meat won't get old easily. I don't know how to do it, so I'll let him cook rice and wheat. This thing has a lot of starch content, so we'll have another source of income when the time comes. Zhang Xiaobao slowly closed his eyes. This kind of massage was really comfortable. The sour feeling was in place, and the pain was good. In the small room, the two of them pressed on each other. Outside, Jiang Wang clan was also eating hard. When Pomegranate arranged for people to make thick mutton soup, Jiang Wang clan also asked people to make pork knuckles for her to eat, the kind without salt. After eating 2 mouthfuls, she felt disgusted. Xiao Qiu, who specially came to serve her, looked at the bowl of greasy pork knuckles. She didn't need to eat it. Just looking at it made her want to vomit. When she saw her madam eating hard, she persuaded her. "Madam, this thing is really too greasy. How about adding some salt? It can't go on like this." "What salt? Is it still milk with salt? My son and daughter-in-law are tired out today. If I don't eat more, how can I feed them? Other families' children cry hard when there's something wrong, but my 2 children are very sensible. If they're hungry at night, they won't cry like other families' children. They'll bear with it. The more they act like this, the more my heart aches. Tonight, when you sleep next to them, listen carefully. If there's any sound, wake me up to feed them." Jiang Wang clan said a few words and began to eat again. Thinking of the sweet smile of the children when they were full and sleeping, she felt that the pork knuckles didn't seem so greasy anymore. "Madam, why don't you find 2 wet nurses? It's too tiring for you to feed 2 children by yourself." Xiao Qiu persuaded. "No, I'll feed my children myself. I still have pork knuckles to eat. Many families want to eat meat but can't. Didn't they also survive?" As Jiang Wang clan spoke, she picked up a piece of fatty meat that was about an inch thick and stuffed it into her mouth. There was a smile on her face, as if she had won a battle. At night, just as Jiang Wang clan had predicted, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would wake up after 2 hours of sleep. When the muscles were regenerating, they consumed a lot of calories. The prepared mutton soup was given to Jiang Wang clan, and the 2 of them were still drinking milk. The next day, when Jiang Wang clan went to do other things, Zhang Xiaobao called Pomegranate and asked, "What did my mother eat before dinner last night?" In reply to the young master, it was pork knuckles. Pomegranate replied, "Okay, you can go now." "Xiaobao, pork knuckles can't be used so quickly, right?" Wang Wan waited for Pomegranate to leave the room and asked. "The milk we ate yesterday had nothing to do with pork knuckles. This is a kind of self-hypnosis. My mother thought that pork knuckles could produce more milk, so she kept thinking that she had more milk. In the end, she really did have milk. It's like a sleepwalker climbing a tall building. In that state, she thought that she could climb up. As long as her body functions meet the requirements, she could climb up." Zhang Xiaobao explained. "Oh, so are we still going to walk on the sand today?" Wang Wan nodded to show that she understood. She didn't say too much. They were all adults, so there was no need to say words of gratitude. "We can walk on the sand. You should have noticed that we don't feel uncomfortable at all. This is the benefit of a child's body. The recovery speed is very fast. Let's walk around outside today. I want to familiarize myself with the things on Zhuangzi. You let Pomegranate lead you, and I'll look for cherries." Zhang Xiaobao made the decision. When she finished drinking the milk, she was carried out. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to see what was planted on Zhuangzi and whether it could increase the yield. Wang Wan was assigned the task of understanding the farmer's thoughts. They split up to act. Cherries went to buy eggs yesterday. Today, she didn't need to go personally. Someone sent the eggs over. They were all newly laid according to her request. At least one end of the eggs was round, and they couldn't shake too much. Zhang Xiaobao was a little worried about this last point. As if she knew the young master's worries, Cherries directly said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Young master, don't worry. These people won't dare to lie to us. I will mark the eggs they send over. I will go to whichever family has more necrotic eggs." "That's good. I'm not worried. You brought the chicks out. What are you going to feed them?" Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while. The people here were different from the people in his era. There weren't that many bad people. What are you going to feed them? Just drive them out and feed them. They can find something to eat. They can even eat sand. Cherries casually replied, "That won't do. My chickens must be stronger than other people's chickens." Chapter 28. When Zhang Xiaobao said those words, many ideas formed in his mind in an instant. He looked at Cherries' puzzled eyes and said, "Just the free-range farming alone takes a long time. I have to gather a lot of money in a short period of time. Listen to me. Go back and find a few servants and ask them to collect the rotten rice or wheat stalks, especially those piles of firewood used by the other people in the farmstead." The weather was fine, and it had rained earlier. The bottom of the pile of firewood must have rotted. They also wanted to dry it. You can just use money to collect it. You can give them money. Those things are not valuable. You can just give them as you see fit. You can collect them all and transport them to the worst piece of land behind my house, where you can take turns to rest and bury them. Then find someone to catch earthworms. Yes, they are called earthworms. Throw them in and raise them. Also, get some feces. When it's almost night, you can do it yourself. You can also find someone to pick up the rotten fish and shrimp thrown away by others in the market. It's even better if there are river snails. Bring them all back and find an open space to dry. Little young master, what are you going to do? Those fish can't be eaten anymore. Cherries was confused. She felt that this little young master's thoughts could not be looked at with normal eyes. So stupid. Didn't we just talk about raising chickens? Of course, we will grind these things into powder and feed them to the chickens. At that time, our chickens will grow the fastest and lay the most eggs. There won't be any soft-shelled eggs. Zhang Xiaobao found that the most painful thing in life was that others could not understand you when you were talking. If this was his subordinate in the past, he would definitely be angered to death. Why didn't they open their shells? Oh, I understand. Little young master, you are really amazing. I don't know if it will work, but I think what you said is right. When the time comes, we will sell eggs. If the chickens don't lay eggs, we can still sell chickens. We don't have to pay for the things we pick up. It's a business without cost. Cherries felt that she had figured it out. Zhang Xiaobao raised his hand and patted his forehead. He found that if he really let Cherries take charge alone, she was still too far away. Fortunately, he did not directly complain about Cherries. He felt that he did not take good care of his subordinates, so he could only patiently train them. He said to Cherries, "My family doesn't sell eggs. I'm still keeping those eggs to make cakes. Otherwise, if you go and buy eggs, you'll lose a lot of money in the process. Wouldn't it be better if we keep that part of the profit? Why give it to others? The thing I asked Ernie's family to make can be used to make cakes. Even if I tell you, you won't understand. You'll have to learn bit by bit." Yes, young master is indeed a demon. No, he is the reincarnation of an immortal. Everyone says so. Cherries flattered. This made Zhang Xiaobao worried. It turned out that he and Wang Wan had already attracted the attention of others. There were even rumors of the reincarnation of a seductress. Who was it? Was it intentional or not? On this day, he still had to hide his actions. He had to waste a lot of energy. How much money could he earn with that energy? He had to investigate this matter thoroughly and think of a way to keep it quiet. Everyone knew that the rafters that stuck out would rot first. What should he do? It was better to discuss with his mother, who would harm his mother but not him. Of course, that Wu Mainyang who was already dead was an exception. That was the real demon. Young master, is that all? Is there anything else? Cherry saw that the young master didn't speak for a while and was a little scared. The young master's face was too gloomy. When an adult made such an expression, others would know that he was angry. When a child made such an expression, it was a little scary, especially the child's eyes. As long as one looked into them, one would feel guilty. It was too pure and empty. Yes, there's something else. I want to ask you now. Who said that we are demons or demons? Zhang Xiaobao didn't have a smile on his face at this time. Usually, he would use a baby face and a child smile to talk to others. Young master, what's wrong? It's little Seven. It's little Seven who was chopping firewood in the kitchen. He said that when he was taking firewood, he heard the master in the backyard saying that the young master is a demon. Cherries was frightened. Little Seven? How long has he been working in my house? What did he do in the past? Zhang Xiaobao didn't expect that the root of this matter was actually his father. Of course, he couldn't complain to his father. At that time, his father must have been talking to his mother. Why was little Seven's ear so sharp? Why was his mouth so annoying? He, Wang Wan, had been very careful, afraid that others would know too much. He had asked Erniu to keep it a secret and asked Cherries to keep it a secret and let others do the work. His mother was smart. It was fine if she knew, but if others knew, it would be troublesome. A tree that stood out in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. A beach higher than the shore would be swept away by the current. As a swindler, the most important thing was to hide. If a swindler was caught, what would the consequences be? He didn't expect that there would be internal problems. Zhang Xiaobao considered all these and could only sigh. After all, this family was not built by him, and the quality of the people was too poor. The only thing he had to do now was to figure out Little Seven. If he deliberately spread the news, then there was only one result: death. If he didn't mean to, then he had to think of a way to tidy up Zhuangzi. This was troublesome. When he used these people, he couldn't order them around like an extension of his arm, but he couldn't always add to his troubles. Little young master, you said that you still have something to do. What do you want me to do? Cherries asked. Oh, let's talk about serious matters. Let me ask you. When the people in Zhuangzi and the Wang family finish eating the eggs, where do the eggshells go? After eating the chicken, where do the feathers go? After all, Zhang Xiaobao wasn't someone who hadn't seen storms. He wouldn't let one thing affect the overall plan. Of course, they throw it away. It's the same in my house. They throw some away every day. The house that Cherries was talking about was Zhang Xiaobao's house. Throw it away? Really throw it away? Does that mean that those in the restaurants are also thrown away? Good, that's great. Cherries, I'll give you a new task. Find someone else. You're too busy. Go and collect the things that are thrown away for me. Zhang Xiaobao was very happy. These were all good things for making fodder. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't know how to make down jackets and was afraid that the current cloth would leak, he could even make down jackets. Why are they all useless things that don't cost money? Cherries said softly. She looked up and saw that the little young master was looking at her. She quickly said, Okay, little young master. I'll go back and arrange for people to collect the things you mentioned. Little young master, it's too hot here. Let's sit under the shade of a tree. That's good. This land is also my house, right? Why are you planting trees? Zhang Xiaobao was led by Cherries to a big tree. He sat on a rock that was cushioned by cherries and pointed to a forest in the distance. In reply to little young master's question, this is Youngye Field. The people above told us to plant trees. Oh, is there this kind of awareness now? That's not right. I remember that in this era, it's destroying forests to build fields. Zhang Xiaobao was a little confused. Cherries also didn't understand what the little young master was talking about. She thought that the little young master was asking about the forest. She said, These places are all mulberry trees. They have to hand in a lot of silk every year. Xiaobao immediately understood. So it wasn't a simple forest. There had to be some sort of output, and it wasn't the output of wood processing. If that was the case, then he could use his brain in the forest. Zhang Xiaobao began to carry out the next step of the plan. His brain was about to turn into paste. Especially that little Seven. She was too hateful. Wang Wan's mission was to observe the local customs. She was carried by Pomegranate and walked around. They walked and walked until they reached the small bridge outside Zhuangzi. After crossing this bridge, they were considered to be out of the Wang family's and Zhangjia Zhuangzi's sphere of influence. Pomegranate didn't dare to walk. She carried Wang Wan and sat on a stool on the other side of the bridge. She pointed at the trickling water and said to Wang Wan, Cuckoo, do you see this water? It's so cool. When you grow up, you can go down and play. Wang Wan didn't care if the water was cool or not. She wanted to hear other people talk about their daily lives. But the problem was that there was no one around. If she talked to Pomegranate, she might as well go home. She looked around and found a few black spots at the lower end of the river. She reached out and pointed in that direction and asked, What's that? That's a wild boy swimming. Of course, Shirlu saw it. Not only were the children from the two villages playing there, even some children from the other side of the bridge were there. They were having a water fight with their buttocks bare. She felt that it should not be seen by the young lady of the Wang family. I want to see. Wang Wan struggled hard in that direction, trying to escape from Pomegranate's embrace. Pomegranate patiently persuaded her. The result was needless to say. Wang Wan won. Pomegranate carried Wang Wan and walked over. Wang Wan wanted to see the child's body condition. Did she have enough nutrition? Then she looked at the clothes on the shore. Was the family rich? Just as they were about to reach the place, a child suddenly ran over from the other side of the bridge and shouted to the other children in the water, "Go and see. The great philanthropist's song is here." When the children heard this, they came out of the water and quickly put on their clothes. No matter which Zhuangzi it was, they all ran over there. "What great philanthropist?" Wang Wan asked. "Hey, someone is going to be fooled again. How can there be a great philanthropist? He is a liar. This liar song is very good. He has deceived so many people, but there are still people who call him a great philanthropist. Let's go back. Otherwise, when he sees you, cuckoo, he will also deceive you. We can't afford to offend him, but we can still hide." Pomegranate sighed and called him a liar. She carried Wang Wan and was about to leave. If it was something else, Wang Wan would really leave. When she heard that he was a great philanthropist and a liar, she suddenly smiled and said to Pomegranate, "What liar? He must be a great philanthropist." "Little girl, he is really a liar. Don't go there. It is said that once you see that person, you will be deceived." Pomegranate was scared. "No, he must not be a liar. How can there be a liar in such a good place? Go, stop a child who hasn't run far. Ask him to go back to Zhuangzi and bring Xiaobao here. When Xiaobao comes, you can ask Xiaobao. There is no such thing as a liar. There is no such thing as a good person," Wang Wan said with certainty. Chapter 29. Song Jinggong was an orphan. Years ago, there was an epidemic and everyone in the village died, leaving only him, who was 10 years old. He begged for food and was looked down upon by others. He accepted it. After all, others looked down on beggars like him. The only thing he couldn't accept was that some people beat and scolded him, scolded his parents, and beat him black and blue. There were several times when he thought he was going to die, but it seemed that God didn't want him to die just like that. He always survived at the last moment. Until now, he still remembered that there was a boss in Zhuangzi who had nothing to do and sent his dog to bite him. That big Zhuangzi didn't even give him a bite of food. He didn't even enter the yard. So why did he send the dog to bite him? From then on, he swore that he would definitely get his revenge. First, he eavesdropped outside some of the schools built by the rich. Later, he found that it was better not to learn those kinds of knowledge. When he was 15, he finally earned some money by working for others. Before he could have a good meal, he met an old man who was about to die from illness. After some hard work, he found that the old man knew a lot of things. Finally, there was someone who could teach him. When he was 20, the old man died. From then on, he made up his mind to use what he had learned to take revenge on those rich people. 10 years later, he cheated many people, but also helped many others. This time, he set his target on Guzhuang. He thought that he could trick them, but they ignored him. Just when he was sulking, he heard someone say that there were 2 more Zhuangzi across the bridge. Now, he was tempted again. He slowly walked toward the Wang family Zhuangzi and Zhangjia Zhuangzi. "Cherries, don't worry if you don't understand. My plan is too long, so you can take it one step at a time. Let's go. Take me to other places." When Zhang Xiaobao was trying his best to train Cherries, he saw the confused look on her face. He realized that he was too anxious. He was afraid that Cherries would be shocked and lose her confidence, so he patiently tried to persuade her. "Yes, little lord, you're amazing. I'm going to learn from you. Little lord, actually, I've never thought of you as a monster. It's just that, Cherries, big sister Pomegranate wants you to bring young master Xiaobao over there. She says that she has something to discuss." Just when Cherries wanted to say a few more words to Zhang Xiaobao, a child ran over and shouted at Cherries. Cherries knew this child. He was a child of a family in Zhuangzi. His name was Little Shirtu. Looking at Little Shitta's anxious appearance, she nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll go now. Little Shirtu is a good child." Hearing the praise, Little Shirtu shyly rubbed his head, turned around, and ran away again. "Little lord, Pomegranate wants us to go over. Do you think we should go or not?" Cherries didn't know why Pomegranate wanted her. She still wanted to carry the little lord, So she asked inquisitively. Zhang Xiaobao instantly realized that this was definitely not Pomegranate's intention. Pomegranate wouldn't dare to ask him to go over. Needless to say, other than Pomegranate, there was only Wang Wan left. It was guaranteed that there was something important to discuss. He nodded, opened his arms, and let Cherries carry him. He said, "Let's go. Hurry up. Maybe there's something urgent. Call back the child who hasn't run far and ask him what he saw and heard." Cherries carried the little lord, called Little Shirtu, and called him over to ask him. Of course, Little Shirtu didn't know why Pomegranate wanted him to come over and find someone, so he shook his head blankly. "I'm not asking about Pomegranate. I'm asking about you playing over there. Did you encounter anything fun?" Zhang Xiaobao saw that Cherries didn't know how to ask, so he had to interject. "Little boss, I was playing in the water with the other people on Zhuangzi. It was really fun. Oh, yes, we heard that the great philanthropist song was coming, so we all ran over. I was too slow." Little Shirtu was a little nervous when facing the young master of the main family, so he couldn't speak clearly. "Who is the great philanthropist song? Who gave you things for free?" When Zhang Xiaobao heard this, he felt that there was something wrong. He always felt that if a person was really kind, then he wouldn't have a reputation. Those who had a reputation were not good people. He had seen a lot of people like this. When there was a natural disaster, they would try their best to advertise how kind they were. They would take out a lot of money and wait for the media to flatter them. They had a reputation, but they didn't take out the money at all. He had also seen a real kind person. Wherever there was a need for help, some people would drive their own off-road vehicle, install a satellite phone, and bring a car full of first aid supplies. When they arrived at the place, they would give out the supplies. If anyone was in danger, they would call. When the supplies were gone, they would drive elsewhere to buy more. Then this great philanthropist song definitely didn't belong to the latter. What was he doing here? Was it to gain a reputation? While Zhang Xiaobao was guessing, Little Shirtu said again, "In fact, the great philanthropist song is really a good person. He has helped a lot of poor people, but there are always some people who say that he is a liar. I heard that it was spread by a few rich people in Zhuangzi." When he said this, Xiaobao was stunned. It was a familiar feeling. Helping the poor and deceiving the rich was what he had done in the past. The problem was that when he was in China, he usually didn't deceive proper businessmen. He usually deceived officials. Could it be that the great philanthropist song was looking for the rich to do this? It was too extreme. It was really a little extreme. Thinking about this, they went all the way to the bridge. Wang Wan and Pomegranate were waiting. When the two met, Wang Wan said first, "Xiaobao, Pomegranate said that the great philanthropist song is a liar. I don't think it's possible. What do you think?" Zhang Xiaobao understood when he heard this. Looking at Wang Wan's excited eyes, he had to say, "Cuckoo is right. How can there be a liar in such a good place? A good person, definitely a good person. I promise. Let's wait here. A good person shouldn't only do good to the people across the bridge." As he said this, he glared at Wang Wan and blamed her for being a busybody. Wang Wan smiled. She really hoped that it was a liar. It would be very fun to meet Zhang Xiaobao. Liar? How capable could a liar in this era be? International liars were all doing business honestly. Who dared to cheat them? She had to see for herself who it was. Thinking of this, she was afraid that the liar wouldn't come. She said, "Why don't we go over and take a look?" "Forget it. Let's not go over. This side of the bridge is our place. If we go over, it's their place. We have to give them a chance." Zhang Xiaobao vetoed this suggestion. If they really went over, it would be considered offensive. If they waited here, it would be considered defensive. There were too many people in the world who were not pleasing to the eye. They could not go looking for trouble for no reason. Pomegranate and Cherries didn't know what the two children were talking about, but they were anxious. If Little Master and Cuckoo were wronged, it would be troublesome. They were especially vigilant against that liar song. Pomegranate first persuaded from the side. "Little Master, that person is really a liar. Let's just wait here for a while. If that person comes, don't pay attention to him, okay? Pomegranate, you don't have to worry about this kind of thing. We'll just play here. When he comes, he will naturally know what's going on. Don't always listen to others. You have to see it with your own eyes. Hearing is false, Seeing. Seeing is not necessarily the truth. In short, just wait. Wang Wan wanted to catch the liar now. Maybe it was a professional habit. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say a word. Looking at the bridge in front of him, he knew that the river passed by his house. He immediately thought of a new way to earn money. He wanted to implement it, but he found that there were too few people around him. Moreover, the investment this time would not be small. Just as he was thinking about when to implement it, a person walked over from the other side of the bridge, and a group of people surrounded him. When Wang Wan saw that person, her eyes lit up. She could guess that that person should be Liar Song. Oh, he should be called Great Philanthropist Song. She turned her head and glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao helplessly shook his head and sighed. This person really didn't know when to stop. He originally thought that he wouldn't come here, but he didn't expect that he would bump into the muzzle of the gun. Was this bridge so easy to cross? Little young master, that's the Great Liar Song. If he comes over, you and your wife must not speak. Just ignore him. Pomegranate became nervous. Her eyes stared at the person opposite of them, hoping that he wouldn't come over. That person didn't seem to hear Pomegranate's inner thoughts. Finally, he walked to the bridge with a smile on his face. While talking to the people around him, he looked at the two children in silk clothes and the person holding the children. That smile suddenly became brighter. When Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao saw that person smile, they also smiled. Wang Wan was smiling because she could finally fight against criminals again. Zhang Xiaobao was smiling a little bitterly. There was a road to heaven, but you didn't take it. But there was no door to hell. Well, I need to revise my trickery. I haven't cheated for a long time. I miss it. How could Song Jinggong know what he was going to face? As soon as he saw the two children, he was happy. The people in Guzhuang were afraid, but the people in this place might not be so. Especially the existence of the two children. It was really good. He found another excuse. After saying a few words to the people around him, he quickly walked over and took out two sugar figurines from his sleeves. Song Jinggong thought that the two children would be moved by the lifelike sugar figurines. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were still judging whether this great philanthropist Song was really a liar like what Pomegranate said. Now, when they saw the sugar figurines, they determined this person's character. He was unaccountably solicitous. He even brought props with him. It seemed that he was also a habitual offender. Look at this child. How nice. Come, taste the sugar figurines. Song Jinggong waved the two little sugar figurines in front of the children and said, "Who are you? How dare you take out things for my little young master and my wife to eat? Are you tired of living?" When she saw the Great Liar Song coming and holding the sugar figurines, Pomegranate scolded with a cold face. This time, Song Jinggong was even more happy. From these words, he determined the identity of the two children. He stared at the children's eyes and said, "Yes, yes, I shouldn't let your little young master and your wife eat these things. I'll put them away. These children are really beautiful. I fell in love with them at first sight. You are?" Chapter 30. Song Jinggong wanted to get to the bottom of this so that he could deceive them. When he asked, he looked into the eyes of the two children. He thought that the two children would clamor for such a beautiful candy man. He had already thought of how to deal with it. As long as the children liked him, he would have succeeded in the first step. Unfortunately, what he saw was that the two children's eyes only glanced at the candy figurine for a moment before ignoring it. Instead, they looked at him and smiled sweetly. However, why did this smile feel a little off? Could it be that the children all smiled like this? It was a little cold. "Who are you?" "I am the young master of Zhangjia Zhuangzi." Zhang Xiaobao blinked his big pure eyes and asked curiously. Wang Wan also tilted her head and cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao. "Yes, who are you?" "I am the young lady of the Wang family in Zhuangzi." Song Jinggong was not surprised at all when he heard the inarticulate voice. He thought that the two kids must have been taught to speak by their families. Families with a little bit of money were all like this. They always felt that their children were better than others, so they taught them a few words so that others would praise them. Thinking of this, Song Jinggong made a funny face at the two children, preparing to make them laugh. In the end, the two children turned their heads at the same time. This confirmed his guess that they were not smart children. In fact, When Wang Wan turned her head, she saw that when Song Jinggong made the face, there was something on his teeth. It was disgusting. Zhang Xiaobao was not willing to talk to this person anymore. If he wanted to deceive them, he did not need to do anything. It seemed that this swindler was preparing to go to the family to deceive the adults. When Song Jinggong saw the appearance of the two children, he felt that he could not use the original method. He could only say to the two maidservants, "My name is Song Jinggong. When I saw that your young master and young lady are so good, I suddenly decided to help you two Zhuangzi. Quickly take me to see your family head." You? You want to see our family head? Was he dreaming? If I were you, I would leave immediately. Our Zhuangzi doesn't need people like you. Pomegranate looked coldly at Song Jinggong and sneered. She didn't give him any face. It was the same for Cherry. It was as if Song Jinggong was an enemy. She pulled Xiaobao into her arms and hugged him tightly. She turned her head and looked elsewhere. Failure. It's really a failure. Being a swindler to this extent, how can he continue to be a swindler when others are already on their guard? Cherries and Pomegranate are not bad. They know how to distinguish between people and help the family avoid a lot of dangers. Zhang Xiaobao held back his laughter and rubbed Cherries' neck with his head. Cherries liked these two children very much. Looking at the cute appearance of the little child, she felt that Pomegranate would not see it and go back to tell Madame. So she turned her head and kissed Zhang Xiaobao hard on the face. Wang Wan saw the situation and was afraid that Song Jinggong would not go and swindle them. Then how would she catch the swindler? She could only say to Pomegranate, "Go home. I want to go home." Pomegranate also had the same idea. She turned around and walked back with Wang Wan in her arms, not even looking at Song Jinggong. Cherries naturally followed behind. Seeing the two maidservants leave with the children, Song Jinggong was not angry at all. He smiled and followed behind. The children who were watching the fun just now were not willing to continue following them when they saw that they were back on the other side of the river. They all jumped into the river and continued playing their games. The adults who followed them also turned back when they realized that they were no longer in Zhuangzi. "Why are you following us?" After walking for a while, Pomegranate realized that the great swindler Song Jinggong was actually following them. She stopped and turned around to ask him angrily, "When did I follow you? Could it be that Zhuangzi is your family's so I can't walk? It's not like I entered your courtyard." Song Jinggong did not care at all and said with a smile, "Then you can follow us. Don't think that you can trick my mistress. My mistress will not fall for your tricks." Pomegranate said bluntly. She carried Wang Wan and quickly walked back. She was prepared to call the servants to chase them away when they reached the courtyard. If she had known that she would meet this swindler, she would have brought a few servants with her when she came out. "Miss, perhaps you have misunderstood. I, Song Jinggong, have never lied to anyone. You need to have proof for your words. Otherwise, I will report you to the officials. I am a high scholar after all." Song Jinggong threatened. A swindler will always be a swindler. Who knows how you got your high scholar title?" Pomegranate whispered softly. This time, she really did not continue to scold Song Jinggong. After all, she knew that a high scholar was not to be trifled with. Her master did not have such a status yet. Seeing that the two servants were afraid, Song Jinggong felt proud of himself. This high scholar title was really useful. He had cheated so many people. Wasn't it because they could not find anything that could be used against him, and because of his status, they could not report him to the officials? "High scholar, Xiaobao, can you win against him?" Wang Wan was carried by Pomegranate and walked in front of Zhang Xiaobao. She turned her head and mouthed to him, "High scholar, Xiaobao, can you win against him?" "A high scholar is nothing. When I was a swindler, I had a group of professors under me. 4 of them were top scorers in the National College entrance examinations. How dare he cheat my family? I will let him know why the flowers are so red. You go first. I will delay him. You go back and tell my mother about the situation here. Ask her to prepare. Let's talk about it later." Zhang Xiaobao did not want to let a swindler off so easily. Since he was here, he had to treat him well. He asked Wang Wan to go back first and report the situation. The advantage of having a few meetings was that there would be more time for discussion. "Okay, I will ask Pomegranate to go quickly. Aren't you going to prepare?" Looking at the jade pendant hanging on his waist, I can guess that he has succeeded many times. Wang Wan and Wei Wei nodded and asked, "Go ahead. What do I have to prepare? How many tricks does he have? Compared to me, he is not even on the same level. I must let him see who is the real ancestor of swindlers." This question is a bit deep. Zhang Xiaobao also let loose today and started to chat with Wang Wan. After Pomegranate heard Wang Wan's words, she increased her speed and ran away first. Song Jinggong did not know what was going on. He wanted to chase after her, but he also wanted to follow this little boy. Just as he did not know what to do, Zhang Xiaobao spoke. Liar, swindler. When these three words came out from Zhang Xiaobao's mouth, Zhang Xiaobao even pointed at Song Jinggong. Little master, I am not a swindler. I am a good person. Song Jinggong was really scared now. He was not afraid that the two maids would go back and tell them. He believed that he had the ability to make the person in charge of Zhuangzi listen to his money-making plan. But he was afraid of this child, especially a little boy. He had already inquired from the people in Guzhuang that there was only one boy in this generation of Zhangjia Zhuangzi. What did a boy mean? All the love was given to this child. When the time came, don't say that he really wanted to cheat. Even if he did not cheat, this child could change the parents' minds with just one sentence. There was a most convincing saying that children could tell good from bad when they saw people, especially children who were not very sensible. It was said that children had the purest hearts and the clearest eyes. Song Jinggong did not want to waste his previous efforts because of a child. He was thinking about how to make this child like him. Then it would be easy. After thinking about it, he took out a peachwood Xiaobao sword from his sleeve. There was a red string on it. Holding one end of the string, he waved the sword in front of Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao laughed. He did not look at the sword, but pointed at Song Jinggong and said, "Money, money." If Wang Wan was here, she would definitely laugh until she was out of breath. This Zhang Xiaobao was really too cruel. Song Jinggong was not Wang Wan. Of course, he did not know what he was going to face. When he heard such a small child shouting for money, he thought that it must be his parents who taught him to know about money from a young age. This kind of person must be cheated. Yes, he must pass the test of the child in front of him. Money? Okay, money. Thinking about this, Song Jinggong took out a copper coin from his sleeve. On it was written, Kaiyuan Tongbao. He laughed and handed it to Zhang Xiaobao. When Xiaobao saw that it was only one copper coin, he didn't even think about it. He waved his small hand and knocked the money to the ground. He continued to point at Song Jinggong and said, "Silver, silver." Cherries was carrying the little master. Originally, she should have left quickly. However, when she heard the little master's words, she slowly swayed behind him and did not care about anything else. At this time, she could only endure this big liar's harassment. Song Jinggong picked up the copper coin that was knocked away. He cursed in his heart. Such a small child, and he already started to recognize money. Could it be that the master of Zhuangzi threw a child into the pile of money for no reason? Gritting his teeth, he took out the one tael of broken silver and reluctantly handed it to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao did not stand on ceremony. He took it and continued to shout for money. Seeing Song Jinggong's helpless gaze, he felt that the other party did not have any more money. He began to talk about money again. Song Jinggong still had money. It was not much, only 100 copper coins. If it was too heavy, he took it out and handed it to Zhang Xiaobao. This time, it was heavier than the money from before. Zhang Xiaobao used his hands to hold the string of money and placed it between himself and Cherries. His eyes were fixed on the jade pendant on Song Jinggong's waist. The string of the jade pendant was tied to the waist. The jade pendant fell to the thigh and could be pressed against the clothes. Zhang Xiaobao just stared at it and did not speak. Song Jinggong suddenly felt uncomfortable in his heart. He did not know why, but he followed the child's gaze and saw the jade pendant. If Zhang Xiaobao had been staring at the jade pendant from the beginning, then Song Jinggong definitely would not have given it to him. After all, it was bought with 5 strings of coins. No matter how good the jade was, it was not cheap. Zhang Xiaobao was using psychology. This was called giving him an inch and taking a yard. He wanted a little bit. In any case, he had already given him a little bit. Was there a need for another little bit? This was because Zhang Xiaobao was still too young. If he was a little older, he would be able to take a yard and ask for more. If you did not give, then he would ask for less. He would make you feel that you could not always refuse, and thus agree to the smaller request later. How could Song Jinggong know these things? He could not imagine what kind of person the child in front of him was. He steeled his heart and took off the jade pendant. Panting heavily, he handed it over. He thought that if he did not cheat 100 taels this time, he would not give up. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.